Alright YouTube, so welcome to the grand finals of 2v2 World Cup, Norway with Viper and MBL versus Yo and Lix with China. Players are finished with the drafting. We will have Team Acropolis, Valiant, Scandi for Norway's home maps. China is going to play with Nomad, Chaos Pit, Team Islands, and we are gonna have the Civ draft over here. I'm gonna keep it here for a moment until I actually change the match command, because for those who are watching on Twitch, when the games are live, if you type !match, you will be able to see the civilizations of the players on chat as well. Of course, it doesn't work just yet because the games haven't started, but this way, people who are watching live will be able to check the civs as well in case someone hasn't learned these wonderful... no, that's not the bottom. In case some people still don't know these wonderful, wonderful shields for the civs. Alright, so with that, I think the draft is very, very balanced. I don't see either civ having a huge advantage, but it's going to be interesting to look at how Norway is going to use both Mayans and Saracens that are available to them. They also have Burmese and Spanish both in their hands, and it's a little bit questionable what China is going to do on Nomad. They might go Vietnamese, but the only purpose why you would actually pick Vietnamese is to know where your opponent's TC is at, and I don't think that's necessarily a big enough bonus to use Vietnamese on Nomad with. Because, yeah, it's a nice bonus, but on other maps, Vietnamese are just an amazing archer civ, and you might just want to use it for being an amazing archer civ. So, with that, according to Robo, games are gonna start in a matter of moments. He said he's aiming for an 18 GMT start. The lobby is up and we got Viper and Yo in there, so I guess we'll have a game on very, very soon. I think it is worth looking at the brackets for Norway and China to just take a look at how they got in here. Norway defeating 3-0 against France. That's not a huge surprise. Russia 3-0. I casted that series with T90. There were some memorable games, especially the Valley game was super, super fun to look at. Russians tried some interesting and crazy strategies, but ultimately the individual skill of Viper and MBL just pretty much smashed them. Spain was a super close series, I would say. So this could have gone to 7 games. In fact, it was 6 games already. Norway winning the last 2. At some point, it looked very, very close after the Nomad game. It was 2-2, but then Viper and MBL switched gears and finished off Taro and Lan in 4-2. And in the meanwhile, China defeated China B over here in a 3-1 manner. Interesting fact is that Team NCL just won the Arabia game and the rest of the home maps were all won by Mr. Yo and Lix. Mr. and Lix dispatched Finland quite easily, if you ask me. That's a 3-1, and that was a quite decisive 3-1. Yo and Lix have been playing extremely well, especially Lix has stepped up his game so much. Like, Yo is bringing in his usual high-level tournament performance, but Lix is performing much better than he did in the previous tournaments I saw him play in. He's a very, very good team game player, but I would dare to say that this might be Lix's best tournament performance I have seen him play in. So, he's really playing outstanding, and it really materialized in an 4-1 smashing of Brazil in the semifinals that honestly wasn't even close. So, well, 2 teams that both had extremely good performances. In fact, if you compare the 2 civilizations or 2 teams, where is that? Here it is. Norway 5-0 match difference, China A 5-0 as well. Norway has played 16 games, including group stage and single elimination, and lost 4 games out of the 20 that they played. China has played 19 games, lost 3 of them only. So very, very similar teams in terms of overall performance throughout the entire tournament. Now, they're going to match up here in a best of 7 grand finals. And with that, all the players are in the lobby. Warm colors will be Team China, Mr. Yo and Lix. Cold colors will be MBL and Viper. So blue and green for Norway and red and yellow for Team China. And they will launch in about a moment. Robo has left the lobby, and that means that the game is about to launch in a matter of seconds. As I should quote Robo, should be starting in a moment. So In case you haven't grabbed any snacks, you might want to take a last minute run to the fridge, because this is going to be a long series potentially, and it's going to be a good one. So it's worth looking at until the end. So good luck to China, good luck to Norway. Let's see who the best nation is in competitive Age of Empires in 2v2 in 2020. The grand finals are going to commence very soon. Hello? Lobby? Okay, they started. So, both teams will have one restart available. So, they will have that to restart any of the game that they do not like. We'll see which game they're going to use it on. We're gonna have Huns for Viper and Mayans for MBL. I think this is the ultimate classic Civ lineup. Both of these are AOC civilizations, Huns and Mayans. And Mayans, generally a good archer Civ. It can be perfect for any map, but on Arabia, we have seen how dominant MBL can be with Mayans. I think against Russia, he also went for Mayans, and that basically was the one that finished off the game. Because Winchester was in a good position, but then when the Obsidian Arabs arrive, they just finish off everything. Against them is going to be a very interesting lineup though. Franks, which can be just as good as a cavalry civ as Huns, if not better, and Ethiopians that may not be able to match the numbers of archers coming in from the Mayan player, but they're able to match the quality. In fact, they're being a lot better in quality. The real question is what the Ethiopian player is going to do once plumed archers comes in. Because Ethiopians will struggle quite badly against plumed archers. You could make an argument for onagers, but they're not as viable in 2v2 as they are in 1v1, because there are big distances to cover, there's a cavalry player that could go and snipe the onagers, so Ethiopians might struggle in very, very late game against Mayans, but should be able to keep pace until, like, late Imperial, unless MBR starts switching to plumed archers a lot earlier. So, game number 1. Here we go. Mayans and Ethiopians versus Franks and... Well, actually, no. Franks and Ethiopians versus Mayans. And Huns is going to be the lineup. 2v2 World Cup Grand Finals is about to begin. Alright. So... MBL still loading in. He had a lot of trouble with Definitive Edition like a year ago. Now with VPN, he actually fixed it. And here we are. So this is the 2v2 World Cup Grand Finals. Welcome, everybody. We are going to have the Viper playing as Huns in blue to the southern part of the map. We are going to have MBL as Mayans in green. We will have Mr. Yo playing as Franks in red. And on the northeastern side of the map, Lix is playing yellow Ethiopians. From what I have seen from Norway in the Arabia games, they always play very, very aggressive. They do some basic scouting around their map, but as you see, they're mostly doing that with sheep. And then the scouts are coming forward and going for a lane on the sheep, and then potentially trying to kill some villagers from the opponent. And that's exactly what I expect here from Norway as well. Viper is playing very, very aggressive. That's why players have VPN in their stream title. Not necessarily. It's because VPN, certain VPN is sponsoring them. But yeah, MBL has been using VPN for quite a long time because he had a lot of drop issues with Definitive Edition. In fact, at the beginning of Definitive Edition a year ago, he wasn't even able to participate in tournaments because his game kept dropping. So he had to use a VPN for that. Anyways, Viper is looking for a sheep to steal over here. Lix doesn't find the 2 sheep at the back, but luckily for him, Viper isn't going to look there either. And Lix is going to see that Viper is on the front with the scout. So this is the one where Lix is going to have to keep an eye out. From what I have experienced from Norway in this tournament, mostly they're trying to gang up in the beginning of the game on the weaker player, which is supposed to be Lix out of the 2 for the Chinese team, trying to push him into a very, very bad hole by stealing some sheep, by killing some villagers. I think against Dark in the series versus Russia, they took like 4 sheep and killed like a villager or so. That moment when you are confused for 10 sec why Viper is not making houses, it's because he's Huns. Indeed, you don't frequently see Huns in tournaments anymore, so it is really just a matter of we don't have any other civs, and MBL is bringing a villain here. Remember, he has Loom with Mayans immediately, but he's gonna have to fight against the Lions, so I guess that's going to be a cancel, because if you have that Voyager weakened, then the opponent's scout can actually kill it, but now you see that MBL is gonna go for laming, and I'm fairly certain MBL wants to lame a big huntable from the opponent. So, Vol the Voyager in and lame the elephant. You can't steal it with the scout, but what you can do is kill it with the Voyager, or you could potentially go for the ostriches and also lame them that way. But a lot of people could say that it is just, you know, MBL playing his usual laming playstyle, but honestly, it is Norway playing very, very aggressive, and they're really just using the rulebook and really understanding the rules, but using it to the best of their advantage. And indeed, now Yo is going to lose all 4 of those huntables, something that he probably planned to push in at some point. The Eagle in the Dark Age is also going to be able to beat the Scout, and look at that, MBL is just going to go back home casually. That's it. 4 huntables killed, not the end of the world for Yo, but it is not necessarily about doing insane damage on Yo, it's about being able to do some damage on Yo. They also tried doing some damage on Lix over here, and it's about the aggressive playstyle that you are doing here to make sure that your opponent isn't gonna have the perfect scenario. Every little bit of advantage that you can grab could actually be extremely significant, and it appears that MBL is still coming in. So MBL is MBL gonna vol in that gold? Yes, he will! This is why we love MBL. Remember that a restart is available for Team China, so you might call a restart if he doesn't like his situation. However, I'm actually gonna turn in the clock. No, it's 6 minutes. You can't call a restart. This overlay doesn't display the time of the game properly because it crops it off here. I wasn't able to fix it, so I just turned off the timer, but you can see that it's after 6 minutes, and restarts can be called until 4 minutes, which means Yo cannot call a restart, and I believe Yo has no idea this is happening to him. Oh boy. I mean, Yo is Franks, so it's not like he's going to have to rely on gold early on, but that is still pretty annoying for him. That's like super annoying, losing the huntables, and MBL now going for what is likely gonna be a man-at-arms play, if you ask me, based on timing. Viper clicking up at 21 pop standard scouts build. Lixki, that's an early Ethiopian up. Lix with 20 volt or 20 pop up as well. 20 pop Ethiopian's play is completely legitimate because you are gonna get some extra resources in early feudal age. So that's why you're actually able to do that. But you have to balance your eco very, very well, and you will need to go for like a Brax and range very soon. Lix is playing wide open, and in fact, both Chinese players are playing very, very open, which could be punished by aggressive players like Viper and MBL. MBL taking 10 gold over here, so this is gonna turn into a Drush FC here. It's a very, very late Drush. So MBL might not even need to go for a Drush anymore, to be honest, because honestly, like, sure, he's gonna do something with the Drush, but I don't think he can inflict a lot of damage on Yo. MBL is the only player who hasn't clicked up the field age, so he's gonna play Drush FC. Nice little base for him, but archers could actually deny his wood lines, which could be a little bit problematic. He's gonna have a nice little goal to work with though, which is always nice to have. Viper, nice little wood line over here. He's just gonna full wall it. He realized that he cannot wall his base around in time, so what he's gonna do is just isolate the wood line, 10 Voyagers on it, nice little surround so scouts can't hit it. And it appears that MBL is gonna go for Lix with the Drush. This is something that MBL said in an interview yesterday when they had the post-game interview against Spain, that MBL personally likes to prefer to Drush the Archers player. So that's why he's moving to the further away player. Yo is aware of that, and Yo is constantly pinging MBL's Drush direction, so they know about that happening. Fun fact, Yo is just about to find out that his gold mine got lamed. I wanna see Mr. Yo's face right now. If this was King of Desert, there would be face cams from the players, and it would be so fun to look at Mr. Yo's face when he sees that his entire gold mine got lamed. And also, because that's actually vault in there, he cannot even use it as part of his wall, because MBL could delete these 2 palisades and just run into the base here. That's gonna be so annoying for Yo. Anyways, Viper is gonna run away for the time being. A Spearman comes out for a Lix, and it is heading towards the front of his base for now. Viper is gonna come in with the scouts. Interesting stable positioning. He's playing very, very open, so this could be punished hard, to be honest. Because indeed, 3 archers and the spearman could be something that punishes Viper pretty badly over here, because the scouts will not be able to clean that one up. Viper is gonna have to play aggressive and hit the wood lines, but if Lix was in the wood lines, I feel like Viper could be in trouble here. Like, Viper could be in huge trouble here. Nice micro so far from Viper. Keeps the scouts away from the spearman, but I mean, these guys are relentlessly marching forward for the time being, and indeed, Yo is like, what the hell? My gold mine has been lamed, and I think he's like, that wasn't the part of the plan. Yo's got 4 kills, by the way, so he just cleaned up the drush, and they could also double down on Viper, because he's playing so open that it could be easily punished. Spearman is gonna go down. If the spearman goes down, those archers are bye-bye, so you could have made an argument for Lix bringing in a second spearman to clean this one up. Viper is heavy on scouts. Yo, not so much. So this means that Yo is gonna have a head start going into Castle Age, but Lix needs to make sure he's Vold or has defensive spearman, because Viper is gonna punish him with scouts. If that's not the case, Yo and Lix will be fully Vold by the time Viper arrives, I believe. So in this case, I prefer Yo's position, because Yo is gonna have less scouts investment, and he's already progressing towards Castle Age. He's gonna break through these walls eventually, and he doesn't need a lot of villagers on gold at the beginning, so it's going to be an annoyance, it's going to be a delay, but it's not something that's like immensely delaying him. Yeah, of course now he can actually use this as a wall. That's totally true. He can avoid it like this. I just said he can't use the gold mine as part of his wall that easily. Anyways, some more archers and spearmen are coming out. MBL clicking up to Castle Age here. Honestly, if you're Lix, you want to bring in a second spearman, because you want to make sure that those scouts can't kill the archers. If you have enough spears here to scare away Viper's scouts, the archers will be able to start doing damage on Viper. Viper is heavy on the berries. For now, he is safe, but he's forced to make a defensive tower on the gold mine, being afraid of the archers, which is going to make his eco a little bit weaker. He's down to basically 0 food, still making scouts. Yo, on the other hand, no scout. Actually, he still has some scouts in the queue. So Yo is investing heavily into the scouts as well. Viper's gonna lose the berries, not really a big deal. It's only 50 food left on those anyways. But they could try to jump the stable. It takes some time to take it down, but honestly, at this point, China is just not doing that because they feel like there is a better chance to do more damage to Viper. But if they realize there is no more damage potential, they could just go and try to take that stable down, because Viper can't actually repair it, and that would be a huge loss at this stage of the game. It appears that Yo is gonna go very aggressive, and it turns out that he's gonna give up on this gold mine. MBL's laming is coming in clutch here, because it forces Yo to use this gold mine and make a defensive tower. I don't think that was the initial plan from Yo. I just don't think it was. Anyways, archers hitting Viper's wood line over here, so that could be a villager killed. Indeed, -1 for Viper over there. MBL very close to Castle Agent. He's marching towards the base of Mr. Yo. The defensive tower is up, but I think crossbows camping here can actually deny that gold mine. Yo's gonna start stonewalling himself, and he is not far away from Castle Age. The tower is going to hit Lix's archers here, and Viper has a huge amount of scouts. Like, he's going full feudal here, but Yo could punish that with knights. It's a matter of, can MBL disrupt Yo enough to actually punish it? Now this much army of scouts with bloodlines and +1 defense should eat this one no trouble. In fact, Yo's scouts aren't even enough to win this fight anyways, so might as well just try to dive close to the TC and try to snipe some villagers. Anyways, MBL will run straight past the tower here, and you can see why this lame came in clutch and why I dislike the decision from Yo to go for this gold mine. I feel like Yo had to go for that gold because he was like, you know, it's gonna take forever for me to get into this gold mine and I can't delay my Castle Age, so I have to go for the other gold mine. Understandable from that perspective, but now Yo is under a lot more pressure than Viper was. And I think that Viper is going to be able to catch up in terms of Castle Age time here quite nasty. He's got 21 on food, whereas for Yo, his eco is like pretty much idle. Right now, at least Yo is trying to trap MBL's crossbows here, and the TC Fighter is helping quite nicely over here. They're trying to take that stone wall down and then kind of run past. Let's see if Yo can actually do some more trapping over here. He could try dropping a market here so that those guys aren't actually able to get out, or just hit the stone mine. Yo is gonna have to deal with this one until he gets to Castle Age and gets some knights out on the field. And Viper is coming in with the scouts. Scouts will not care about that tower, and they could hit Yo's gold mine, and that would like basically be already half game advantage for Norway. Those scouts from Yo are still very, very low in upgrades. Viper's just got way better upgrades. Yo is waiting for +1 to kick in, but he's got very, very weak scouts. Let's see what Yo is gonna do. Nice gate over there. Quick wall is happening. It's happening for Yo so far. The right side is still open. One house, one gate. Nicely done by Mr. Yo. Viper isn't able to do damage with those guys. MBL, however, the crossbows could deny the gate. MBL could deny the gate. Boy, that's so close. Lix is up to castle, but the scouts are in. The scouts from Viper are in thanks to the help of MBL. And MBL has been playing like an absolute beast in this tournament so far. Really, I would, like, it's hard to say, but I would actually say that MBL is outplaying Viper in this tournament. Viper is playing good, but MBL is playing a legit beast. Now there is Knights on the field, but only +1 defense. Eventually this is gonna be cleaned up, but it's already a huge annoyance for Yo over here. But we shouldn't forget something. Viper is still feudal age, and that's a lot of Ethiopian crossbows coming to him. So yes, Yo is down to 34 villagers, but Viper is gonna lose just as much, and this army is likely gonna get cleaned up. Here it comes. And there's absolutely nothing that Viper has to stop this. He doesn't have knights. He's gonna suffer just as much as Yo did. In fact, he could just go straight towards the wood line and clean this one up. I would love to see Yo using his scouts to clean up these walls, to secure that, and indeed, now the crossbows are on Viper's wood line. Another villager bites the dust, and honestly, Lix can just keep free crossbows to camp down the bottom of the tower to deny that gold mine for so long. Viper is down to 32 villagers, Yo is at 35. So it turns out that Viper actually took a lot more damage than Yo did. Lix coming in clutch with those raids, and I did mention that Yo has been outperforming expectations in World Cup just as much as MBL did. So really, both, I think that the thing that made these two teams the finalists is that their second player was also exceeding all expectations with their performance. Both MBL and both Lix were performing far better than expected. Of course, everyone expected MBL to put up a good play, but he actually outperforms expectations. He's not just playing good, he's playing absolutely amazing. Right now they're trying to trade archers. There is no +2 defense for Yo here, and Yo is also up against a lot of light calves. So this is a bad fight for China over here. Indeed, they are pretty much getting absolutely slaughtered, but Viper is down to 31 villagers compared to Yo's 39. Viper, he is gonna add the second TC though. Yo is going to stay on 1 TC and play triple stable knight, something that he played against Brazil as well on Arabia. Fast tumbling coming in here for MBL. Remember, Mayans are extremely dangerous with Arblast, so you really have to make sure MBL can't get to good Arblast numbers, because MBL has an untouched boom. 2 TCs with Mayans, cheap army, you can get a fast Imperial and get Obsidian Arrow Arbs, which melt everything. Viper's light cav here could still be a factor, honestly. Like, that's quite a lot of light cav with +2 defense. Yo is missing the +2 defense on his cavalry right now, and he's gonna have to clean this one up. I don't like that he isn't completely neglecting this gold mine. It's not like it's a big deal. Just have one knight over here, clean this one up, because you will need this gold. At some point you're gonna have to move to different gold mine, and that's going to be this one. Because the other gold mine for Yo, the other secondary gold, is like, I don't even know where it is. It's here. It's awful. Anyways, scouts for Yo will relay the position of MBL's army to the Chinese team. If you look at the eco numbers, the combined eco is exactly the same. It's 92 for both teams, but it is much more evenly distributed for the Chinese players. Lix 49, MBL 55, and Viper is down by quite a lot of villagers compared to Yo. Tumbling is on the way as well for Lix, and those are Ethiopian crossbows with +2 defense and tumbling. That's something that Mayans can't really match up against, unless you have more numbers for Mayans. 20 versus 27, slightly better numbers right now for the Norwegians, but there is going to be +2 defense. I think they are going to head to Viper now. They realize the MBL is camping that hill and they can't actually break that resistance, so they're going to try and head towards Viper, who is playing wide open and could be easily punished for that. 3 TCs for Viper. Yo is still playing with 1. I feel like Yo needs to add 1 more TC, at least. And needs to take that wall on the gold mine down. Because, yes, he's playing triple stable, but I mean, Viper is also playing triple stable, but Viper also has a lot stronger eco now behind it. He's going to catch up compared to Yo in villager count, so all the damage done to the eco of Viper might actually go and just vanish. Still, Viper doesn't really have a huge safety on his wood lines, and that could be something that could be exploited. Knights diving beneath this tower. TC is up just in time, but Viper 15 on food, and he could lose a lot more than that. Viper is coming back with the cavalry, but MBL is gonna be lagging behind because his army is a lot slower moving. So it's a positional warfare right now. Yo could send these cavalry to intercept the reinforcements of MBL, which would be a beautiful thing to have. Indeed, he is doing so. He could pick off a couple of crossbows, giving him a slight edge. And a siege workshop from Yo. MBL's lame here over here just caused so much chaos for Yo. Forcing him to make a defensive siege workshop is a huge achievement because that siege workshop is coming instead of a TC. Instead of Yo being able to add a TC, he has to add a siege workshop to clean it up. And I don't understand why he didn't just leave one knight behind to clean it up. One knight over 5 minutes cleans this up pretty easily. Instead, you go for a siege workshop. I don't think that one knight would have actually made a difference here on the battlefield. That being said, MBL has 51 crossbows, 45 for licks, but MBL is chasing, 20 crossbows here with 40. So, this is an army that's gonna be cleaned up, that's for sure. But in the meanwhile, MBL's base is gonna get pushed hard, and MBL is very far away from helping. And it looks like China is focusing down on the cavalry from Viper, meaning that MBL's army will be completely mispositioned. Look at this. There is going to be nothing that helps MBL now, and this is the moment where China could just go and intercept reinforcements. There is a hole on MBL's walls, and everything could be ruined here for MBL, who has the villager lead right now, but could be losing an awful lot of villas here. Because he is going to lose quite a lot. He was heavy on stone, so I guess he wanted a castle, and if you look at the resources, he was about to go imp. This push from China might come in just in time, because MBL was about to click into Imperial and get Obsidian Arrow Arbs. And this push here for MBL's base now, and MBL having 30 idols being delayed, University and Monastery is up, he has clicked up to Imperial, but he has no stone, and that's going to delay the Obsidian Arrows, and he's gonna lose a lot of resources as well. A lot of villagers are down. He has 40 idols. He's at 34, or he's at 49 army, but he's not gonna be able to replenish his army easily because he's gonna run out of resources. And in the meanwhile, Lix is just flooding the map with crossbows. I feel like they're gonna go full Castle Age here if you're China. And just look at all the damage that has been done on MBL. He's down to 56 villagers, which still just makes it even with the Chinese players. Which really shows that, like, Lix was playing 2 TCs, but he has a lot of TC time over here. Yo is playing 2 TCs, but he was 1 for long. Viper was playing 3, and MBL was playing 2 for the majority of the game. That being said, if MBL can keep 57 crossbows alive and get to Arblast, and he's not far away from Arblast, he's got 11 on stone, he can even buy some stone for himself if he needs to. He can just walk into the base of Yo and finish him off. So Obsidian Arrows could still be a factor. I think that China needs to pull the initiative right now and do, like, awful damage to one of the players, preferably Viper, because once again MBL is defending himself. And oh, this could be great for Elix. If he can intercept these reinforcements with the hill advantage and +2 defense, and even the Ethiopian Arbs, that would be a perfect trade. They need to take this fight, and that's a good fight for China. Despite being outnumbered, you're going to lower MBL's crossbow numbers, and that's going to delay the Obsidian Arrow push. Simultaneously, Viper is getting pushed pretty hard over here with the chance of a TC even being killed here. Viper's got some cavalry on the field, and, well, MBL has cleaned that one up, but at least his crossbow numbers are lower than it was. And you have to have that. Meanwhile, though, Viper gets the castle up and now tries to trap that army. Lix could lose a lot of crossbows here, desperately trying to exit the base of Viper. And Obsidian Arrows is in for MBL. Or, well, not Obsidian Arrows, but Imp. However, Yo is going into Imp himself. If he gets Cavalier, it should be China's game. Because Cavalier will be able to beat the Arbs in a flat-out or open field engagement. So you have approximately 2 minutes for MBL to capitalize on Obsidian Arrow Arbs. And here's the problem for MBL. He doesn't have the castle yet. So those are Arblasts, but they can't melt buildings. And that buys a lot of time for China. That raid came in just at the perfect time, and it still raids. Still raids on MBL stone, and I mean MBL is trying to get that castle up, but it's going to be delayed. And every second MBL is delayed, he's gonna be delayed with the Obsidian Arrow Arbs. And without Obsidian Arrows, those Arbs will not really be able to do much, because they can't really get through walls, and you can always run away from them. Lix is teching into Elite Skirm, realizing that crossbows will not stop the Arbs, and they are realizing that Viper is also hit pretty hard, so the Viper doesn't have cavalry. So you're gonna start maybe even slinging MBL. Oh, that's so good! They're stopping the castle! And guess what? If you don't have a castle, obsidian arrows isn't gonna happen. If there is no obsidian arrows, you're just gonna run away with the whales. And they will get through the poly sites, sure, but they don't melt TCs, they don't melt ranges. Obsidian arrow push only works if you have obsidian arrows. And I think Yo is very, very close to reaching Imperial himself. 80 villagers, the best in the game. He's gonna get Cavalier, and I think the overlay is once again frozen. Thank Definitive Edition for that. Oh, that's so frustrating. MBL is gonna get a castle up over here at the back of the base, but it delayed it so much. I mean, when the overlay got frozen, it was 80% for Yo. Eventually, I think Lix is gonna lose some of his space, but there is going to be a huge mobility advantage for Mr. Yo, and Cavaliers will just raid the eco of Viper and MBL to death. Also, without cavalry support from Viper, Rams can actually work nicely for Mr. Yo as well. And look at that, now MBL is switching to Yo, who has reached Imp. You can see the new architecture, and I guess the reason why MBL is switching is because they realized that they have to kill the player in Imp. But with Cavalier and +4 on the field, you got 20-ish Cavalier here against 30-ish Orbs. That should be a good enough trade for Mr. Yo here. Look at those units. What is this? It's the Siege Archers. Yo is gonna have to wait until he gets Cavalier and +4 defense, but then he has to engage it. He can't afford to just chill and sit back. I like the crossbow play from Lix though. If MBL isn't supporting Viper here, Lix can push him with crossbows, and Viper is still under heavy pressure over here. Arblasts, now it's going to be an open field engagement, I believe. Yo is bringing in the cavalry. It's a little bit of a premature engagement, but Cavalier and +4 defense should be in a matter of moments. Indeed, here it is. Even the TC fire is helping, and that's the moment where China is gonna take a huge lead. Because now, Cavaliers will just be able to smash the Arblast. They will have the mobility advantage, they will have the strength advantage in an open field engagement. And to be able to execute an Obsidian Arrow Orb push, you need to be the first to Imp. Because if you have Orbs, they will melt Knights. They will melt crossbows as well. But if the opponent is also an Imperial and he has Arblasts or he has Cavaliers, then you won't be able to take a good open field engagement, and that's exactly what you're seeing here. That you need to be able to just march forward with the Orbs and melt buildings, but for that you need to be able to dominate the land engagements, and that's not happening. MBL is getting pushed back quite hard, and simultaneously, I mean, Viper's got quite a lot of Knights on the field, but it's against Cavalier. Viper is doing a 4TC boom, and now Yo should have a decisive lead over MBL. He's gonna have the mobility advantage as well, so it's the moment where you start running into the eco of your opponent. I believe that these are villagers being sent out to establish trade. Norway isn't even close to getting trade up. Big fight over here in the corner. Viper tries to trap those units in there, but once again, Viper's just gonna lose his crossbows, or his knights over here. Lix is taking the best possible fight that he can, and when that many Cavaliers show up at Viper's base, Viper is not gonna have anywhere to run. I guess Viper could be getting some PTSD very soon from certain previous tournaments versus Mr. Yo in the grand finals, because so far it looks like China is having the upper hand. It's not over yet, and MBL still has a lot of Arbs on the field. However, Cavaliers in an open field engagement will just eat the Arbs. That's it. Once you have like that many Cavaliers for Yo, they're just gonna eat the Arbs, and they are jumping on Viper's TC here. Viper's gonna have to evacuate that, and he's just losing so much eco right now. And look at that, more crossbows are coming in here for Lix. They're just so good at teamwork. Viper is gonna lose like 10 vills here, and it's not like Viper has a huge army to defend against that one. Lix, just stop! I feel like Lix could have killed a lot more villagers. He's gonna kill like 5, 6, 7, but it could have been like 15, 20. Maybe not 20, but like 15-ish vills could have been reasonable. Now, that being said, Yo needs to wait and fight this fight, because he can't afford to lose eco like that to the Obsidian Arrow Orbs, but he hasn't Paladin now. I mean, Orbs are nice, but they aren't stopping Paladin. And Leo is even going to save that TC. He lost a lot of eco, but behind this one, he is slaughtering MBL's villagers. He's got the mobility advantage, and I mean, he's lowering those Arblast numbers, I think, enough. He might need to bring his own Paladin back, but no, he doesn't need that. I mean, he's intercepting the reinforcements, and he has enough Paladin to actually take this fight here. Reinforcements are coming in. I don't see a castle from him, so he doesn't have chivalry just yet. But Norway isn't close to setting up trade either, whereas China is already doing that. So once again, China is one step ahead of their opponent. And even a Mangonel is out, that doesn't really change a lot. because Arbalest can snipe Mangonels easily. But look at that. MBL is on like what? Is that 2, 4, 6, 8 ranges? But orbs are coming in one by one and they're getting slaughtered by paladins. Look at that. One by one streaming in, and Yo is going to drop a beautiful hilltop castle over here that's going to pretty much cripple the stream of reinforcements coming in. Meanwhile, Mangonel gets a good shot over here and paladins will clean this up. China is inching closer and closer to an ultimate victory over here on Arabia. And like, Viper is very far away from actually contributing much to this fight. Based on the buildings, he's still in Castle Age, even though the overlay is frozen. And now MBL is losing way too much. He lost his gold mine here. Norway taps out. And I actually predicted 4-2 for Norway, but boy, it's Lix and Yo playing so good. And I just can't stress this enough. It's one thing that Yo is playing well, but boy, Lix is playing amazing. Lix is playing out of his mind. And I mean, he's playing against 2 top 5 players in the world, and he's not wavering. In fact, he has had some very good engagements. He's good with the flanking maneuvers. The team synergy is really showing for China, but also it's the individual performance. And I think the fact that as an individual player, Lix is performing just as good as Viper or MBL in this one. MBL has been having an insanely good series in the tournament so far. This one was also a very strong game from him, but Viper got punched pretty hard. And in many games we have seen this in 2v2 World Cup, that Viper is the punching bag and then MBL is there to carry the game. So Viper is just doing a good job of slowly going down and fighting back, while MBL is just going to be untouched and just going to snowball the game. But it didn't happen here. And that's going to result in a 1-0 lead for China. And we're going to go to Norway's home map first. So, with that, Norway is going to lose Arabia. Their home maps that are available to them are Team Acropolis, Valley, and Scandinavia. I wonder what their map selection is, because it's actually a pretty important map selection. You don't want to fall behind 2 games in a best of 7. They can go Team Acropolis, Valley, or Scandi. Looking at the civs, Mayans are gone and Huns are gone. Other side, for the Chinese team, you have Franks and Ethiopians gone. So if we go to Team Acropolis, something like Burmese could work out for Norway. But it's tricky because Team Acropolis, China has been extremely dominant against Finland on Team Acropolis. In fact, they were super aggressive. I think they used Saracens to get through the palisade walls. For that, that's not going to happen. And let's see if Norway is going to play that. I could see something like Saracens forward range at Archer plus Spear Push with Burmese combined, and the Burmese player just fast castling. So you play an aggressive Saracens opening and try to pressure your opponent even through the walls. And then you follow it up by a Burmese push that is just going for a fast castle. I could see that happening. That would be a completely legitimate way of playing this one, but there are so many civilization options for Norway yet, so it's pretty hard to predict what's the lineup for Norway or China. All right, so game number 2 is up, and we have Scandinavia over here. 1.5 minutes remaining from the spectator delay, and on Scandi, Viper is playing Italians, MBO is playing Persians versus Mongols and Celts. Now, it is important to mention that in the semifinals, Norway versus Spain, Norway played Persians and Byzantines versus Mongols and Celts, and they lost. The Mongols here are looking extremely solid with the extra hunt that they have. Celts with the Hoang Rush, and I feel like that's the plan for Lix. Because Lix, being the player that brings in the Celts, makes me believe that he's the one that plays aggressive and delays both players. And in the meanwhile, Yo is gonna just play the good old-fashioned boom into Mangadai strategy. Now, this is a little bit trickier than it used to be, because instead of Byzantines, now we have Italians for Viper. And guess what? Italians are actually pretty reasonable at killing Mangadai. So the Genoese crossbows are actually very, very good at killing Mangadai. There is still problems with mobility or the chance or the skills to stop siege ram with the Genoese crossbows. But I can see this game plan for Viper and MBL. Now the real question is, are we gonna have a back water for the players, or are we gonna have a shared water generation? Because that's the two ways that this map can spawn. I guess we're finding it out in a matter of moments. Lix versus Viper and MBL in the 2v2 World Cup Grand Finals. And we have an interesting setup over here. This is actually a mix of shared water and backwater. Not something that you frequently see. Because here, theoretically, both teams have their safe water. But in reality, the edges are open for both sides. So I would actually put it closer to the shared water rather than the safe water type of a strategy over here. Now this means that Lix, I'm fairly certain that he's going to try and drop a dock here and try to pressure the fishing eco of Viper and MBL. Same thing for MBL, he's probably going to try and dock here, and I don't think that there is any chance for the Chinese team to prevent that, even though what Yo could do, honestly, this is so well volable here. If Yo sends a villager early with Loom, look at this wood line for Yo! What is this? It's like one straight wood line here, and one straight wood line all the way around there. Yo needs to send the villager and double layer pulse like this, and they can secure their own fish. That would be so cool. Oh, the draft I think is outdated. So that's not the draft. Probably. But you can use the exclamation mark match command to check out the civs of the players. And it turns out they're actually doubling down on MBL. Let's see if they want to lame him or something. They're doing double scouting on him. They really are curious what they are planning over there. And let's see how Yo is gonna vote. As I said, I feel like with these woodline spawns, all you need to do is vote here. And you secure this entire water at the back. And prevent MBL from getting there. Meanwhile, for Viper, he's gonna drop a dock over here. For Norway, it's not impossible to vote their own water either. In fact, it's not super challenging, but it takes a lot more work. So, Yo should be the one that is going fast castle Mangodai. Pretty much fast castle boom into Mangodai to be precise. And eventually, we should see Lix fighting on water with Celts. And MBL is... no, that's Viper. That's Viper. And that is one dead, or well, not really dead scout, but it's 9 HP. Not ideal for Viper, definitely not a great start. And they're looking for villagers to kill. They might find Viper's Will here. They might find Viper's Will, it has Loom, but... oh, that's nice from Viper, that's beautiful. I think you should be able to access the shorefish. They were looking for the villagers. MBL is not making a dock. And that means that MBL is probably going to do forward dock, and indeed here it comes. Let's see if Lix is going to do the same thing. Lix should be doing the same thing here. Just send the villager out here and harass the water as Lix... oh, Lix is going for it! Lix is going for a lame. He's going to voll his villager in. He tried blocking the boar of Viper over here, but instead he's actually going for the lame on the other boar. And, oh man... we could even see the huntables being lamed over here. Abducted Platypus, thank you for so much for the resub. 5 months, I greatly appreciate your support as well. And your work on Capture Age, of course. Unfortunately, we can't use Capture Age for this version of the game, but we'll be able to use it once we get back to the new version of the game next week. So, Lix is just gonna be able to lame it away. Honestly, if you're Lix, that's a soul Lix thing to do. That's a soul Lix thing to do. Do you think that Barracks is classified as a forward Barracks? I think yes. This is like the Omega Drush from Lix. And that also means that he is gonna drop dock over here. I think it's gonna be something like Men at Arms. And now, I would say that for Lix, next step is to kill some of those huntables. Just go for it. Especially considering Viper's scout is weak. It's not like Viper can pull his scout to take a good engagement. You just want to make sure that you can actually lame some of the huntables here from Viper as well. And here comes a militia. a single militia could also be so disruptive at, you know, killing the huntables. And that would cripple Viper's food eco quite heavily. Viper still has fishing eco, but he's getting housed, and let's be honest, his build order is kind of getting crippled and ruined by this absolute aggression from Lix. MBL's fishing on this pond, it's nice and safe. Yo is chilling over here. First to fuel age is going to be Yo, which means that he could get a first fire galley out and check if MBL is on this pond. MBL still should be able to outnumber Yo in fire galley numbers because Yo doesn't want to fight water. Meanwhile, 2 sheep are lamed away from Lix by Viper. Not something that really hurts Lix. And Lix is gonna have a nice little fishing eco setup over here on the opponent's side of the water. One militia is just patrolling these huntables, killing everything it can. And now, Lix is bringing in the militias to MBL's hunt. And MBL's hunt is actually spawning pretty. Unfortunately, Lix has no idea about that hunt, but he's gonna try and stop MBL from being able to voll. MBL does have loom on those villagers, but one of them are very, very weak. Not really super weak, but those are Celtic militias that can chase down villagers as well really fast. 5 HP, and it turns out that it actually is going to survive. MBL plugging the holes in on the wall, but that's going to be quite a lot of idle time on MBL and the delay towards the gold mining, and that's huge. Being able to delay the gold here is actually clutch, because that saves a little bit of time for Mr. Yu, and that's a weak villager for MBL. If Lix notices that, he could actually try picking that weak villager off with one of the militias. Remember, his militias are Celtic militias and they move faster. Look at the disaster for MBL. He isn't really gonna have wood to make fire galleys at. And this is what Lix is so good in the 2v2 World Cup. He's extremely good at being disruptive. Being able to delay both players here is just ridiculously good for Lix. And this gives a perfect boom for Yo. And despite the fact that MBL is up to feud late, he's barely able to afford a fire galley because he constantly has to keep fighting with his villagers and just so much idle time on those veils because of that. And now Lix is gonna void that villager, and MBL is gonna have to you know, void that villager around if he wants to do that. And Lix, I know that when Lix reaches feudal age, Lix might actually end up dropping a stable there and go for knights. So Lix, look at that, he's just trying to block the wood line. He's being extremely disruptive, and that helps Yo being safe back at home. Now there's a fire galley here from Viper, so they're going to clean this one up. Viper even traps this villager from Lix. So Lix is gonna be like, okay, fuck it. That's something I shouldn't say because, you know, TOS. But he's gonna delete the dock and run away. I don't know if that's the right decision to make because that dock could have been helpful to get some fire galleys out. But I have a feeling that... a barracks! It's a barracks from Lix's full drush. I think that Lix eventually is going to turn this into a drush FC, by the way. He could go for the hunt a lot faster. I would love to see Lix just walling his base and turning this into a drush FC and then a Hoang push. Because he could do it. And he's disrupting MBL so much, and it's all what matters. It doesn't matter that Viper has the fish here. Although it could actually become very, very useful for Viper if he can go full fish boom. But what it does is it delays MBL from getting the fire galleys out. It's going to save Yo's fish, even though Yo actually sent his fire galleys away and now his fish is exposed. But it's going to delay MBL from doing any damage to Yo, and Yo is gonna have a nice and little boom to the Mangadai. In fact, I think Yo is about to click up. Not so much. Yo isn't ready to click up yet. And what is Lix up to? He's just casually rolling himself, still in Dark Age. But look at all the destruction that he's causing. Like, MBL's gonna have to roll in 2 villagers on his wood line. And I guess MBL's gonna have nightmares of Lix anymore. I mean, nowadays when MBL's playing in the evenings, he's usually getting matched up against Hoang, so he already has PTSD about Hoang. But now, I mean, he's gonna have nightmares out of this one. And MBL, I think that's a red vol. I could actually make an argument for red voling this gold mine in. Just being like, okay, whatever, I'm gonna vol that gold mine in. It turns out that, for now, Yo is super safe. We shouldn't sleep on Viper though. He's got 37 villagers, and one thing that Italians can do so well is do fish boom. And this is why I don't like that dog being deleted, because that dog being deleted signaled for Viper that, okay, you can do whatever you want on water. So I would love to see Lix sending another villager forward, and when he reaches feudal age, if he reaches feudal age, making some fire guys and try to pressure Viper, because Viper is gonna have a crazy fish boom and he's the first up to castle age. And if crossbows start marching forward Yo, or even worse Lix, Lix could be in trouble. And it turns out Viper is also sending a Voyager forward, so it might be fire ships on the water of Yo. And I guess what Viper wants to do is like a crazy fish boom. I think that Lix now needs to stop this one and like progress towards feudal. In fact, he's going up to feudal. If he gets to feudal, he should get men-at-arms. Because this many men-at-arms will just melt the buildings. And he can still become disruptive on the base of MBL. MBL still has his fishing eco live. There are some scouts out from Yo. So they're trying to pick off MBL's Voyager here. But it turns out Viper is going to try to sneak a Voyager to the right side, and he will be successful with it. Lix will be fully evolved. Yes, he will be fully evolved, and he's on the way towards Feudal Age. Not sure if he's gonna go straight into Castle Age with the resource he has. He might actually go for that. I could see a Drush FC here, and do you know why that would be dangerous? Because this would be an internal Huang Rush. So, you could drop a Siege Workshop right here, and that would be so good. MBL is gonna have to make a defensive tower on the wood line, but, I mean, there are the militias, and that's a lot of militias. MBL has a lot of weak Voyagers as well, so he needs to watch out which Voyager he's using to fight this one, because I mean, MPL, he's gonna lose Voyagers, and those are Celtic militias that are even moving faster than the Voyagers. This tower is gonna go up, sure, but Lix can make a few more militias, and I think Lix is gonna turn this into a Drush FC. I would actually make an argument for really getting men-at-arms, but now Viper is here with the archers. So, I think eventually Viper is gonna clean this up. But the next step for Lix would be to get potentially a stable back at home, get some knights out, and get a siege workshop in. Viper is not going for crossbow, he's going for war galley. And Lix right now is just trying to delay those archers or crossbows from getting to him. He wants to make sure that Voyager stays alive, but that's not gonna happen. That's gonna be a Voyager killed. But this delayed Viper quite heavily. The only question is that Yo is at 35 Voyagers, Viper is at 42, a disturbingly high Voyager count for a player like Viper that loves to fish boom. But MBL is still going to be stuck in Feudal Age for a long time. Whereas, I mean, Lix is going up to Castle. And if Lix goes up to Castle, it's gonna be a Hoang Rush. And he could Hoang Rush Viper very well. And since MBL is delayed, if Lix can just push with Mangonels against Viper, Viper isn't really gonna have a chance to fight against that. And Yo is already behind, or Yo is already ahead of MBL here. Yo apparently found Viper's dock, and actually there is a stable here as well. It's not gonna achieve anything. Unless Viper makes a transport or something. In fact, that's going to be a Voyager killed. Viper, however, is a fire ship, and Viper is doing a crazy fish boom. This is why I feel like this dock shouldn't have been deleted by Lix. Because Lix needs that dock up to scare Viper, to make sure that Viper doesn't have a completely untouched fish boom. But that's Castle Age on the way for Lix. Castle Age could mean he could sling his teammate, but I feel like Huang rushing Viper, so going heavy on Mangonels could really work out well. I think Yo's gonna have to do some double layer polycide walling though, because resources like this is actually pretty exposed. For now, he's just going for fish boom. But, haha, I like that. Viper is actually aware of those dogs, but I don't think he's gonna react in time to stop them. His crossbows are heading towards the base of Lix, who's probably gonna be forced to make a defensive siege workshop. Crossbows are also heading to this direction. Yo is getting some demos out, but, well, it's not like Lix, that's totally true. When Lix deleted the dock, Viper already had 2 fire galleys. It's not like Lix would have one dock. It's not even about that. It's about the fact you threaten Viper. If you delete the dock, you actually tell Viper, you are free to fish boom, I'm not even going to try and hurt you. Whereas if you don't, there is a chance Lix makes 2 demo ships if the dock isn't finished off. And those demos try to snap the fish. So it's about, yes, it's unlikely that Lix does damage, but you have to keep the possibility open, basically. Anyways, Yo is gonna trade the demo off over here. Viper is at 56 eco, Yo is at 31, but as I said, Yo's base is quite open to the crossbowman raid. Let's see if Yo is gonna make some knights to battle that. Defensive siege workshop is up for Lix, and he's going for a scorpion. And now Viper is gonna have fire ships over here, but this is going to delay Viper, and a significant portion of Viper's eco is on water. So Viper is 2 TCs and water heavy eco. If Lix can get some good demo hits in like this one, it's going to be perfect. What exactly Lix has to do is pop out the fire ships first. That kind of condenses the position of those fire ships and then pop out the demo. And honestly, that's a mistake from Viper. He just let those fire ships escape, and fire ships destroy fishing ships very fast. This could be a lot of fishing ships dead from Viper very soon. Crossbows from Viper pressuring Mr. Yo. The siege workshop does go up, and there is going to be a defensive Scorpion here as well. But MBL in the meanwhile pushing the back of Yo's base. It's a tricky situation here. Now this is actually better. Now that you have this one for Licks, you can actually start pushing Viper on that, and you have to. Because I feel like Viper is just having too much of a free time to boom on the fish, or like boom on the water, and also hit Yo. MBL is now ahead of Licks by 4 Voyagers. MBL, no fishing eco over here, but he's cleaning up the water more or less over here. And he's trying to get some fishing eco up for himself. It appears Licks is gonna lose the docks, but does it matter when Mangonels will now start coming in? I think Viper does have a dock here, so he could actually, or a stable here, so he could send that knight back home to clean this one up. There is going to be a monastery coming in, Viper trying to camp down that Voyager, so it's harder a little bit for those Mangonels to kill the crossbows, but crossbows will get cleaned up, and now it's 2 crossbows, or crossbows, 2 Mangonels pushing this one. Licks is safe at home, 2 TCs, and MBL is now gonna vote this off. This is actually still problematic for MBL because this is blocking a lot of space from his base. These voes are annoying, so it's blocking, like, look at this Voyager, it has to walk all the way around. It's inefficiency that's there for Norway, and Viper is gonna make a castle. If Viper makes a castle, it's gonna be Genoese crossbows, and look at that, Viper's gonna go imp. I feel like China isn't punishing Viper enough for fish booming. And this is why this Omega Drush didn't really work out, because you don't punish Viper for fish booming. And I mean, Yo is doing an excellent job with the boom himself, but he's just having an even numbers compared to Viper, and those Genoese crossbows will be out, I think, a little bit faster than Yo can mass his Manga Dies. That being said, siege rams is still something that Norway could struggle against, but I feel like Genoese crossbow bombard cannon could actually steamroll Licks and finish the game there. So you really need Viper, or you really need Yo here to start showing up with Mango Dice pretty soon, because if not, they're just gonna get overrun by Genoese crossbows, especially Licks. But it doesn't really matter, because as long as like if Mongols get to Mango Die and Siege Ram, Italians shouldn't really have a chance. But as long as there is no Siege Ram, Italians with Genoese crossbow bombard cannon can just massacre the Mongols. Yo is about to click into Imperial here, but this is looking way better right now for Norway, surprisingly. Second TC is up for MBL, and MBL was the punching bag for a majority of the game. He got drushed so hard here, but Viper had an untouched fish boom, and you can see that it's going to materialize. It's 81 Voyagers, now Yo is at 91, but Viper is 60% to Imp. And he can go either Genoese crossbows or even Arbalasts, and apparently he's going Arbalast. Arbalast bombard cannon can melt buildings just as fine. At this point, some of these ranges will be denied, and as long as those are not Arbs, the Mangonels will be decent against them, so this is going to buy some time for China, but they have to realize Licks. Sometimes I don't understand players with certain moves they make in huge tournaments. How can you afford a hole like that in a $30,000 tournament's finals? What on the earth is that? Like, Viper could just chill here and deny half of the farming eco of Licks. Now there is a Scorpion that's gonna kill the Knight. 2 Mangonels are still out, and Viper has to do mass migration with his wood. Arbalast, Bracer, Ballistics are coming in, but he's not close to pushing Licks just yet. And in the meanwhile, Yo is getting the Death Blob in very, very soon. There is a Mangonel that finishes off the Scorpions. Battering Ram should finish that archery range off. That buys some time once again for China. MBO is doing a 4 TC boom. So, really, I feel like Licks either has to do more or just start slinging Yo, because MBL is gonna outboom Licks massively. It's already a 30 Voyager's advantage almost for MBL with the Persians. And, like, oh, forward castle coming in here from Yo. He's playing aggressive. They know that they don't have much time. They have to get these up. This is dangerous because if those castles go down, then you don't have Mangudai production. Usually you make your Mangudai castles at the back because you want them to be safe. But I have a feeling that Yo realizes that Viper is up to Imperial already and he's gonna start pushing. So what he wants to do is steamroll MBL because they know that MBL is probably ahead of Lix over here in this case. Lix isn't far away from Imperial himself. And he's gonna get a beautiful ground attack going over there. Once again, buying some time for themselves. And honestly, MBL is not far away from Imp though either. And if MBL gets to Imp, he's gonna have Cavalier or maybe even Heavy Camel. Probably the Persian Cavalier that even have extra damage against archers could be enough. And it's much easier for MBL to mass the cavalry than it is for Yo to mass the Mangudai. Thumb Ring is coming in. Only 2 castles for Yo. Third one is going to come in very, very soon. How is Lix doing with Imperial? Lix, not even close. So I assume he is slinging Yo now. But here come the siege rams. And it still takes some time for MBL to get to any cavalry numbers. MBL is on free army. Yo is on 10. Mangudais will pick off the Vultures here, further delaying the stable production, or the stable addition. And Yo, Kepdram is a cheap upgrade. You have to go for it immediately. Nice move from Yo using the back siege workshop to do that. And that castle, I'm not sure if it's gonna go up. And the Arbalest numbers are better for Viper, so it's not like Yo can take this fight conveniently. But this buys some time for Lix, who is getting his boom up as well. 70 villagers, but 71 pop only. And, well, traps are out. You want to start trapping down the... Which is the MTC for MBL? Which is MBL's MTC? Oh, it's here, okay. There's no way he loses that. That being said, MBL is about to lose multiple TCs. We have Pavise coming in here for Viper, which is going to give some extra pierce armor to him, but it's only orbs. And the problem is that orbs aren't really going to stop siege ram, and Yo has a disturbingly high Mangudai number very, very soon on the field. MBL is not really close to getting the cavalry out. He's just gonna get +1 defense for the cavalry, so it takes so much more time for him to get it out. And in the meanwhile, Yo is gonna have the mobility advantage. Lix, not very far away from booming himself back into the game. If you look at the combined villager count, it's dead even. And we could see Mangudai trying to get some raiding damage done. The mobility advantage is definitely on the side of Yo. Siege Ram is not in it just yet, but based on the food income of Yo, it's going to happen pretty soon. Party and tactics as well on the way. And, well, Lix can do 2 things. Either sling Yo or just go to Imperial himself and go hobbit your Siege Ram. But at this point, it seems like we're going to see Lix just slinging Yo in here. And, well, that castle is already getting tapped down, and Yo is going for forward gold mining here. And honestly, if you kill that blacksmith from MBL, he's gonna be delayed going for cavalry so much. I mean, he's making knights right now that are missing +2 armor and bloodlines, and he's losing the stables. MBL is gonna be smashed in here. Meanwhile, I think Yo is just trying to drive in with these forces, do as much damage as he can on Viper, knowing that he's gonna be able to replenish his forces here on the front line. And Yo once again is close to steamrolling this. MBL is about to lose the blacksmith, and MBL is gonna have nowhere to go. Eventually, this could be a cleanup from Viper with the Pavise orbs. They have 5 pierce armor, which is always nice to have. But Viper, 106 villagers. Lix is catching up, 88. Lix is not far away from imping himself. And look at this. It's soon to be Siege Ram, and that's Drill, that's Siege Ram, that's Coinage from Yo as well. But Drill and Siege Ram is what really matter here. And how is MBL going to stop this? He won't, and the problem is that, as I said, Italians actually work out nicely against Mongols until the Mongols actually get the Siege Ram in. And there's going to be trade cogs established by Norway, something that China isn't going to be able to do. In fact, because of these docks over here, it's not really possible for China to set up a trade right now. But does it matter? Does it matter when MBL is going to be absolutely slaughtered? MBL is making war elephants! He's making war elephants, ladies and gentlemen. We have seen Tarkins, we have seen Berserk, we have seen Shoros. Now we are seeing war elephants in a competitive game. Absolutely useless against those Mangudai, but I guess MBL doesn't have anything else that he could potentially make. Like, nothing else that MBL can make. MBL is down to 110 population, which is comparable to the pop of Lix. And Lix on the way to Imperial, getting Halberdier and Siege Ram going very, very soon over here. And Siege Ram was just knocking down the buildings here at a very, very rapid pace. MBL getting Bloodlines on this table and Cavalier on this one. But, like, Trap is being set up over here. MBL is gonna have nowhere to run very, very soon, and I feel like soon we are going to have Yo switching attention towards Viper. Yo with the best population, best score in the game right now. Genoese crossbows are very scary, that's true. But he's gonna already have onagers on the field. So technically onager and Mangudai should be able to win this one, but Italians do have bombard cannons, so it's a kind of debatable type of a scenario. I think the main problem for Norway is that MBL is nowhere close to being a factor. Like, he's gonna have a few Cavalier on the field, but they're missing upgrades. He's got 6 military. And the difference is that Lix is about to have a lot. I mean, he's already getting onagers on the field. And I mean, MBL is gonna have nowhere to run very soon. Mangudai dive in once again. They can actually take a fight against the Orbs. And Yo is just playing out of his mind right now. Like, really out of his mind. They're pushing the corner. Yeah, and Yo, yeah, also, those are drill onagers. That's true as well. Hoardings for Yo. He wants to save that castle. I think he can just dive in with the Mangudai, but it's tricky because Viper is actually keeping the Gembos over there. But Siege Rams, guess what? Siege Rams could actually do this. You need some good ground attack with bomber cannons. This is the problem with Italians. You don't stop Siege Rams. Oh, that's so unlucky for Yo. The final rock from the trap actually finished that castle off. But MBL is now kind of pushed back over here in the corner without any reliable gold income, if I'm not mistaken. He has like 1 gold mine that he can work with. And if you look at the right side, I think the decisive push is gonna come in from Lix here. Because we haven't looked at Lix for quite a while, and soon, I mean, that's Onager, that's Furor Celtica. And he's gonna start pushing Viper with Onagers. That's not a good fight for Yo, trying to snipe the bombard cannons over here. It's a tricky one. Because technically, Italians have the tools to win fights against Mongols. It's definitely not a bad save for that. And I'm fairly certain that this is why we see Norway picking Italians, because they want to counterpick the Mongols here. But look at that. Mangudai just dive in, snipe the bombard cannons. Siege Rams are still pushing. Siege Rams are still pushing here. And now without bombard cannons, onagers will just eat that. Or you just have nothing to stop the Siege Rams with. Like, the best thing that you can have is bombard cannon to stop your Siege Rams. But that's not going to happen. And Viper is going to lose a castle very easily. MBL is going to dispatch his own villagers to repair. But that's not going to happen. Rendering Viper only to 3 castles to produce Gembos at. Paladin is on the way for MBL. But is it going to arrive in time? Because I feel like Viper is going to get out-muscled in pure unit numbers. And we also must not forget about the fact that Lix is preparing something huge. Huge push. In fact, what Lix should do is start making barracks over here, get Halberdiers and Rams here. Because it's not like Viper can help MBL right now. So if Lix comes in here with Halberdiers and Rams, he can steamroll MBL, because MBL just has Paladins. Also, these Paladins are still lacking quite a lot of upgrades, or soon to be Paladins. Siege Onager is in for Yo as well, and Onagers are assembling here on the right side as well. China is very close to winning game number 2 here. They're very, very close. I feel like they just need a good push with Hab and Ram from Lix on MBL. Paladin are in, so this is not a fight that Yo can really convincingly win. He's gonna lose some Onagers, but eventually, I mean, now all the villagers are nice, and MBL is at 125 population, Viper is 160, but look at this blob. It's going to be soon Onagers, and those are Furor Celtic Onagers as well, and Halberdiers from the Celts. So MBL isn't really going to be able to help out here, and the thing is that Lix is just going to go and try to snipe the castles. That's all. They are trying to snipe the castles, so Viper cannot make Genoese crossbows. In the meanwhile, left side, we're going to have some more Siege Rams from Mr. Yo. I would love to see Lix making Halberdiers on the left side as well. I think that would seal the deal. Viper committing everything he has to repair that castle. It's only 2 traps out. Bombard cannons are on the way as well, and those traps should go down. I think they kind of need to get Lix in here to this left side. I know I said it multiple times, but I feel like they aren't really going to be able to get any damage done here on this side. Guess what? Lix is going to try and deny the trade. He's gonna drop a castle here on the right side. Onagers pushing in. This is actually a super safe trap spot over here behind the wood line, but bombard cannons are still around. And in the meanwhile, MBL is getting some nice Paladin numbers up. He's up to 36. If only you would have some Halberdiers on the left side. Viper is making... No, it's MBL making galleys. MBL is making galleys because he's trying to deny Mr. Yo's trade that's just being established. And I cannot help but repeat myself. Habdirs here is the key for China to win this game. That being said, I don't think... Yeah, basically there's barely any trade for Norway. So they won't be able to sustain just flooding Paladins here with this much golding up for MBL. In fact, MBL is just about to run out of gold. So from this point on, every Paladin he loses, he's not gonna be able to replace it because he has like no gold. Siege Archer pops out at the perfect time. And I mean, Mangadive will just melt the Paladin over here. It's not going to be cost efficient for MBL, or at least not cost efficient enough to justify that. And meanwhile, that is Silk Road for Viper. Not a very common upgrade. It is something that's gonna get trade units cost minus 50%. Nice little upgrade, but honestly, it's going to take quite a lot of time until they can establish trade, and Lix can just go and take this dog down with a siege ram. That's it. Huge Paladin Bob over here. I think they just need Lix to get to better military numbers. He's at 180 pop still. The MBL is at 140, but a lot of those are Paladins. But if you look at MBL's queue, no more Paladins. He just can't afford them. No, like, he has no gold income, no trade cogs, and he's going light cav. Light cav is like a surrender here. Because if you compare it to Mr. Yo should just send the siege ram here to take down the docks. He's gonna be able to get some trade going. Indeed, he's going for a castle to protect that right side, and he still has Mangadives, which have an insanely high resource retention rate. And just look at that blob of siege rams. MBL's forced to defend his base, and Lix is gonna steamroll another castle. Viper taps out. Oh my goodness, it's Red Bull PTSD for Viper once again. And honestly, it starts to seem like, based on all these tournaments, that the real nemesis for Viper, if Viper is playing in 1v1, it's Mr. Yo. If he's playing in teams, it's gonna be Yo and Lix. Because, of course, this is not a deficit that's impossible to come back from. But the way China is playing this, we have a 2-0 scoreline over here. Lix, not very efficient with the KD, but it didn't matter. Lix is just making the game so massive that it allowed Yo to boom up. It got scary for a few moments, but once again, it's something like... It's very hard to really point out what China is doing well. I think what they really do well is being able to inflict the damage when they have to inflict it. That's basically it. Like, for example, Yo being able to push MBL just before MBL was able to get Cavalier out and overrun him. Because MBL was very close to getting Cavalier out and overrun him, but he lost the stables here, lost front of his base just in time. Really, just in time. Same thing for Lix. And Lix is excellent at making games messy in various ways. I don't think that this is something that Norway expected. This was the grand strategy for Lix for this map, for the grand finals. They probably expected a Hoang Rush Stripe strategy, but Mongols once again prevail on this map. And with that, China takes a 2-0 lead over here. Yo, with the expected high village or high kill rate, but also the buildings destroyed. Lix didn't destroy a lot of buildings, but those buildings were actually pretty important that he killed. He killed a castle that Viper was using to make gembos, and yeah, this just allowed Yo to play completely untouched. In fact, it seems like Lix slung some resources to Yo, but eventually Yo sent more to Lix than the other way around. Also some relic gold for Yo. MBO went for one relic, but you can see how focused China was. Yo even grabbing the relic over there. And with that, we are gonna have game number 3 coming up here really fast. I talked a lot. So I guess we're gonna jump into game number 3 over here, which is Team Acropolis. Without a further discussion, we are gonna have 44 seconds remaining of the spec delay. Viper is playing Burmese. I expected that. MBL is playing Indians. Interesting, but could work with the camel heavy approach. But the thing is that number 1, camel archers are actually very good against Arambai. Number 2, Kumans will probably have a better eco than either of Viper or MBL. Number 3, Kipchak will be able to melt camels as well, to be honest. So it's a really tricky scenario, but I feel like one thing that you always have to keep in mind is that both Burmese struggle mightily against archers. And Indians in Castle Age, I feel like they struggle quite badly as well. One of the most overrated 2v2 civs in my perspective, has a pretty low win rate in tournaments so far. We are gonna have Norway on the right side in blue and green for MBL and Viper, with Burmese and Indians respectively. Left side is Mr. US Cumans in yellow, and we also have Licks playing red, Berbers in here. So, well, as you probably know, on Team Acropolis, it's pretty hard to vote yourself, but it's actually still possible. And the interesting thing here is that Yo is bringing in Cumans, something that I think we last tried to do when China played against Suomi. China punished that with an aggressive Saracen forward. That didn't happen, or that isn't gonna happen over here. We'll see how Viper and MBR react to that. But this map is actually very, very defensive, and there is a chance that we're just going to see the Cuman player go to an unpunished boom and probably into Kipchaks, to be honest, because you don't want to get into an camel race with Indians because you don't have heavy camel yourself. So I guess it's gonna be something like Kipchak and Knight from Licks. That seems legitimate. Although we could see something like Kipchak Camel Archer as well, because like Kipchak, although Kipchak Camel Archer might struggle against Skirm. So we'll see. It's a little bit of a tricky matchup. Not something, like not two civs that you frequently see together, because both of these civs are actually cavalry civs, although both of them could be used as an archer civ if you use the unique unit. Now, Indians for MBL, probably for camels, and Viper with Burmese. I wouldn't be surprised to see fast castle play to a Rambai. Now that being said, when China played against was it China? No, when Spain played against Norway, Spain was able to punish the stone mines of Norway pretty hard. So if you look at the Viper's stone mines, these are awful. They are awful to an extent where it might be justified to call a restart. For Viper, they can call it until the 4-minute mark, but unfortunately, this counter is cropped off on this overlay, so you can't exactly know when we are reaching 4 minutes until you see the actual 4 minutes sign over here. But you can call a restart in the 4 minutes mark. If Viper wants to go around by, this might be justified because both of his stones are on the forefront and both of them are absolutely horrendous. No restart. So Norway's gonna play it out this way, but I'm not sure how Viper is gonna get safe stone for himself because this one is awful and this one is even worse. MBL on the other hand, pushing in the deer over here pretty fast. Yo went Cumans against Brazil, he just died. Yo went Cumans against Brazil, yes, but it was Ghost Lake and not Team Acropolis. So, true. Yo went for Cumans against Brazil and died, but that was because he did so on Ghost Lake and he got punished for a greedy boom. He wasn't able to get his gold up and he just wasn't able to protect his walls. If he had double layer walls, I believe that he could have actually pulled it off. But true, Cumans can be punished pretty hard for just a crazy boom. Anyways, everybody's just sitting back, chilling, pushing in deer, as you would expect. MBL is the first one moving forward. You get 3 villagers on wood for Yo, so that's going to be a standard old-fashioned Cuman boom. And you got 3 on food as well for Licks. So I guess Licks could play potentially scouts here. So like scouts with Licks, trying to be aggressive and trying to do some damage to Viper and MBL and allowing Yo to just boom. Now, the Cuman's team bonus is very helpful here. Because you're gonna have stronger palisades, and since you're likely to be palisade walling your base around at some point, it's very likely that that bonus is actually going to be very, very helpful. On this version of Acropolis, you don't have a pond in the middle, you actually have the Acropolis itself. These ruins over here represent Acropolis. And we have some kind of ugly gold mine spawns right next to the hill. It's a little bit hard to spot. Anyways, MBL not clicking up just yet. Still not clicking up. What is that? Is he gonna play archers with this? That would be weird. Viper is gonna click up at 21 pop. And eventually that's a barracks. So it could be scout into a Rambai from Viper. And then MBL going for archers with Indians. But no, he's adding more villagers. MBL seems to be going for a negative C here. I guess his scout is going to help him realize that, okay, my opponent is gonna boom as well, so I'm just gonna go and play boom as well and just go unpunished for that. Yo's gonna have the Kuman scout so he can run away from any engagement. He's the one that actually got the first hit. So eventually MBL is gonna have the HP advantage, but you can always try to chase and get some damage done. Lix is also here with the scout. And as expected, we're gonna have full wars from China. And turns out Viper is gonna play Burmese Man-at-Arms Towers here. Remember that a very aggressive play from China actually punished Finland for the Kuman boom. And it could happen here as well. And Burmese are actually pretty good as a Man-at-Arms Tower civ, because you are gonna have the extra attack on your infantry in Feudal Age, but this is a little bit late for a Man-at-Arms. Actually, 20 villagers, it's a reasonable Man-at-Arms Towers timing. Viper isn't mining stone right now, so he's just gonna be able to drop one tower, and that's gonna be for archer range. This is exactly what China did against Finland to punish this boom. So I'm curious how China is going to defend against this one, because they have seen this aggression. Actually, they were the ones that actually invented this. So let's see what they are having on their mind. I believe that's a stable for Lix. And now they're going to see the Man-at-Arms from Viper alongside the first tower over here. Counter tower is nice from Lix. What I would love to see is dropping a house behind, just to prevent the Man-at-Arms from bashing their way in here. And there is already a scout on the way. You could try intercepting one of these villagers to do some damage. And I love this play from Yo. He's going to spread out his eco, something that Finland didn't do. Finland was actually having both of these TCs on the hill, and that's not working that well. Yo is gonna have a nice little hill over here that's like actually a beautiful TC spot. Right on stone, right on wood. For him, tower versus tower is up. And we are gonna have some scouts on the field for Yo and Lix. Lix is getting housed for a brief moment. MBL is playing Naked FC boom though. Or at least Naked FC and then maybe Camels. So they could punish Kumans here because MBL is gonna have a very, very good castle age time. And he could go straight Camels, and Camels could melt buildings. So this is still tricky for China, and I'm not necessarily a big fan of this game plan. There's only... Actually, there is 4 villagers and an archer inside for Viper. And Lix also has 5 vills inside, so that's an even matchup over here. Lix is gonna have to leave his tower a little bit faster. But I mean, Lix is so good at towering, so he's gonna be able to play this tower fight very, very convincingly. And meanwhile, Yo is booming behind this one. I think you can't go full greed boom mode. I think you have to be kind of in-between route. Something that we have seen from Vilas and King of Desert. So you boom a tiny bit, but then you just start moving for Kipchaks. And I feel like that's what Yo is doing. He's already adding villagers to stone, which could be either because he thinks that he may need some counter towers, or it could be because he knows that he can just full boom with such an aggression and potentially MBL fast castling this, which is obvious based on his feudal age uptime. So you could really make an argument for Yo not going full greed boom mode and just idling his TC some time. So with some TC idle time, he should be able to get up to castle age fast and get some Kipchaks out. That being said, there's a spearman on the field from Viper, and those guys actually have +1 attack as well because they're Burmese units. Lix will try to snipe the villagers over here. Archers are inside the tower, so this is actually pretty important for Viper. He's got archers inside and he's idling 5 vills with the archers. But it's only 4 archers inside against 5 vills, so that should still be an advantage for Lix over here. And MBL getting up to castle age. That's going to be double stable camels for him. It's a little bit late horse color. For him, not really a big deal though. And that could actually be a nice interception over there. Trying to get some kills on the villagers. Yo progressing towards castle age, trying to revolt this one for the time being. But yeah, he's not going to be able to counter tower this one. In fact, this blacksmith is going to go denied. Tower is down from Lix, but Lix, because he had the villagers inside the tower, he doesn't have the stone to counter tower this, and it seems like Yo is going to be the one that has to counter tower this one for the time being. MBL up to castle age, and I feel like this Kuman greedy boom could be punished pretty easily, and MBL has a 4th villager here coming in with what is going to be a mangonel push. This is going to be awfully hard for China to hold, and honestly, this is the first game when I feel like the game plan for China isn't there, to be honest. Let's see if Lix actually polycide scanned that. I don't think that he did, and indeed that siege workshop is gonna go up. Yo is forced to make another defensive tower that is delaying his progress towards Castle Age, and that's not great. I mean, Lix is also quite late going into Castle Age here, but Lix is the one that is supposed to be busy defending this, and now Yo isn't even close to being able to defend against Manganos. That's the problem. I mean, Yo is just about to start adding villagers to gold, but I mean, he's still very far from Castle Age. MBL has a Manganol out already, but MBL has a hole! Oh, that's so bad for MBL. Because yes, he's gonna start pushing Lix here, but he just can't, he needs to clean this one up somehow. It's not a big deal because he can send 2 camos to clean this one up, but it's going to be annoying and it's something that he's gonna have to focus on instead of actually focusing on microing his units. That's a good question. Do they know about Yo's second TC? Probably not. There's another tower coming in here. Yo is getting close to clicking up, and now they know about that TC, I think. Yeah, they know about that TC over there. And Yo is in trouble. He's too greedy in this one. This is definitely the worst game plan that we have had from China today. Norway fled it earlier? Okay. So Norway knows about that. And Yo is probably going to lose that TC. And what's even worse is that the villagers will be lost here. He's going to have to repair it. And now he's going up to castle. But what is he going to do in castle? That's the question. Like, he's actually... Like, look at Norway's army. It's 13 army against 5 from China. And it's not like Lix is there with any knights or something. This is way too greedy for China. And I don't understand the concept behind this one. They punished Vilas and Max for this exact build order so well. And now they go for that. It's like, they just showed exactly, like, it's so weird that they showed the word how to stop this one against Suomi. That's exactly what they did. They were like, okay, Suomi is doing this one, we're just gonna play this and stop this. And I am fairly certain that Norway was watching those recordings. Norway knows exactly that China stopped Suomi with this. That being said, stone income is still there for Yo. And honestly, Yo is keeping this thing alive. There is some scouts coming in, they are trying to intercept the villager. Probably. But I mean, Yo is gonna have to make a run for it. This is not something that you want to see when you're Kumans. Yo was way too greedy. Yo was way too greedy, and the only reason... Oh. Man, I feel like all that boom from Yo is gone. Look at the villager count. All that boom is gone. In fact, it's even worse. I don't understand this. And I'm usually getting very tilted when players do stupid things like this. What's the point on actually doing a strategy that you have shown the world how to counter? Absolutely no point. Congrats, Yo. All that boom for 33 villagers when everybody else has 40. Horrendous decision. And as much as I was praising China for a good game plan and execution from them in the first few games, this is a full disaster from Yo and Lix. Like, if I had to rate this game plan on a scale of 1 to 10, it would be minus 1 million. Because they actually have, like, they did the counter strategy of this against Finland. It's not impossible for Suo or China to still win this one, because theoretically Yo can still reboom. Because MBL is actually 3 TCs, and it's scary. And now keep checks are coming from Yo. But from a position where Yo was in like a great spot, he's now in an awful spot. And honestly, I just don't understand it. Anyways, let's get over it, and let's try to focus on the game and on what is gonna be a sneaky castle drop in the face of Viper. That's gonna be a sneaky castle drop. It's tricky because that's a lot of camos, and the camos could catch up with the villagers, so this is extremely risky from Lix. But they could go camel archers and harass the hell out of Viper's eco, because one thing that Viper doesn't have at home is army. He's getting a Rambai out, but a Rambai will be eaten by camel archers. And once you has the Kipchak out, Kipchak should be melting the camos once you have good Kipchak numbers. You need like 10-ish Kipchaks to be able to take good fights. Before that, it's not so great. He always playing on 1 TC right now, gets stable for Bloodlines and so much for that. China has 79 villagers combined, 96 for Norway. Norway has a significant lead in villager numbers right now. And that is all because US kind of thrown away his army, or his villagers. MBA had some beautiful ground attacks, by the way, but I just don't like the Kuman double TC play. So at this point, it's like Kipchaks will have to carry it, because the other thing that you get from Kumans are just not going to be materializing anytime soon. That being said, if Lix is able to start pushing Viper here with Camel Archers, Viper could be in trouble. Viper is doing 3 TCs, and I don't know if he knows about that castle, but probably does not. And probably has no idea about that castle. Camel Archers could do so much damage. Oh, the Archers are in here! Oh, Lix! He was playing so good in the previous games, and now he's playing disaster. Eventually the tower should be able to clean this one up, but not something that you want to see if you're Team China. That overchop. Lix is down to 43 villagers, just like Mr. Yo. Both MB and Viper have a much better eco, so China has to play very aggressive here. But we have seen such a scenario already. I think in the Arabia game, where both Chinese players were behind. But then, you just need one good raid, and Kipchak and Camel Archer will be great for just raiding. And MB are going for full TC, or 4 TC boom here now. Camel Archers, still waiting in the castle. Lix is waiting for a good number of them, so he can unleash them and really do damage with them before revealing his position. And in the meanwhile, they just completely neglect those Mangonels and just start marching forward with more and more Kipchaks. Both Chinese players want TC, so it's kind of a castle age all in here from them. And they will have to inflict a huge amount of casualties on Viper and MBL to justify for all the losses that they suffered from. That being said, here come the Camel Archers, and Viper could lose villagers quite rapidly over here. Ballistics will be coming in soon for Lix. And same thing, Kipchak could run into the back of Viper's base, or MBL's base. And MBL could lose a huge amount of vills. And it's not like it's easy to clean up these Camel Archers, because the Rambai will struggle against them. And look at that, MBL is just getting the +1 armor in for his camels. So they really aren't that amazing at stopping Kipchak. I mean, Lix is losing the entire right side of his base. They will need to clean this one up at some point. In the meanwhile, Camel Archers are on the way, trying to finish off the Rambai. But here come the Kipchaks. MBL is dropping in villagers, and he's got 22 idols. Still, China is just so much behind. This might be an insurmountable lead. That being said, those Mangonels are left there completely open, so you could send like one knight to clean that one up. And more and more Camel Archers are on the field. And Camel Archers will be a good answer to the Rambai. They will be a very good answer. And meanwhile, Kipchaks can do a lot of raiding as well. MBL's got like 6 town centers though, so I think that Yo and Lix will also need to mix in quite a lot of their TCs here. You actually made the second one over here, microing against the Rambai over here on the far left. But here come the Camel Archers. And once again, they're just melting those camels that only have +2 pierce armor, so it's not like they're really resistant to the arrow fire. They just don't have those upgrades yet. It's just +1 defense upgrade, and what you get from Indians. Anyways, Rambai are still holding the hill here for Viper, 1 castle, consistent Rambai production. But in the meanwhile, this gives some time for Yo and Lix to start rebooming. They will have to. There is a second TC here for Lix, a little bit exposed, not a fan of that. I feel like they should start expanding towards this direction, but it's a little bit hard when all those stuff are around. Kipchaks getting parted up here by Yo. He's gonna have a nice little party of Kipchaks, so this is the moment where he wants to raid. And Yo! Hello there with that castle. Hello there, that's a huge castle. If that goes up, MBL could be in trouble, because MBL has a huge villager lead right now, and he's not super far away from Imp. But if he loses 2 TCs like that to that castle, things could quickly turn around. Meanwhile, we got more Camel Archers. Viper's getting a second castle up. Kipchaks on the way to get some villager kills, and they're just trying to divert the camels away. This is all that they're doing. Just bring in the villagers, and here that castle goes. It's a very aggressive, super ambitious castle from Yo, but they're understanding that they're behind, so they need something that is gonna be ambitious, bold, and that can win the game for them. That being said, that many Rambai might be able to stop that castle, and MBL's rushing up a new TC and a siege workshop. That's a doubt castle from Yo. That's not going up. Man, that's not going up. And those are Indian camels, so they melt buildings as well. Not sure why Yo was running around with the keep check. Maybe he wasn't sure if Rambai will be coming his way. Now, Lix needs to push Viper now. But I don't think this is gonna happen for China. It's far too gone. Look at the villager count. MBL alone has more than, or almost more than, the villager count of the entire Chinese team. It's not happening. This game was gone where Yo lost 30 villagers. Because that's all the advantage that you got from Kumans. Now MBL with +3 pierce armor on the camels. Unless they make an insane and unthinkable damage on Viper, this is just over. That being said, Lix is the first player to imp. And if Lix is the first player to imp, he could try trapping down Viper's castles. The Arambai play generally comes with a late Imperial Age timing because Arambai are wood and gold heavy. So you're not really gonna have a great food eco. And honestly, there might be a very, very, very minor chance that Lix somehow carries this. But it's very hard. Because I feel like they can hold long enough to really get MBL into Imperial himself. Yeah, MBL is gonna click up. I feel like this is the type of scenario where it's far too gone for China with a massively misplayed game plan, I believe. Like, I said this like 10 times, and it's very hard to really say it again. But when you have punished a strategy like China did against the Kuman boom of Suomi, how can you just do the strategy that Suomi lost with? Everybody saw you defeating Suomi with that strategy. So everybody will know how that strategy should be countered. And guess what? Viper and MBL did know it. They knew exactly that the Kuman player is just gonna boom, so MBL can go naked FC without walls. MBL went naked FC without walls into like 10 town centers, boom, and a mangonel push. And it really showed. He was gonna have to cancel that castle. MBL is going up, and when he goes up, those are gonna be imp camels. And when those are imp camels, they will do just the same thing as Obsidian Arrow Orbs do. They will just run into the base of whoever they meet, and they will destroy every building. This, like, basically Yo and Lix have about 2 minutes to win this game, and that's not going to happen. Viper is also imping. Yo is not even close. Yo has got 12 villagers on food. I'm a little bit disappointed now because right now we're just waiting for this game to finish, but we know who is gonna win. Because it's an almost impossible position for China. It is because these camels, they don't have anything that can stop the camels right now. And these guys will run in here and destroy everything. Everything. Look at the villager count for Yo and Lix. And look at MBL's Vipers. I mean, both Chinese players are below 100 pop. Lix and Yo combined for 170 population. MBL alone has 180. This game was over when Yo lost 20 villagers, all his Kuman boom. Everything that he had in that Kuman boom and even more. He actually had way worse villager count than Viper, who is playing Burmese and he didn't even have a great economy. So, I think when MBL reaches Imperial Age, it might be a GG from China. And as much as I was praising China for the previous 2 games, this was a full disaster from them. And, like, Norway perfectly deserved this win because they punished China for an absolutely horrendous and stupid strategy. Because it was that. I mean, Finland tried this against China. China destroyed them. And then China goes for the same strategy that they destroyed, like they got Suomi destroyed with. Why? Just why? Finland did the exact same thing. Kuman, 2TC boom, Lix comes forward. I think it was Saracen Archers, but it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, the moral of the story was that you can't go 2TC boom because you're going to delay your castle age. And MBL was prepared for it. MBL knew it all along that it is going to be Kuman boom. Because MBL went for naked FC. And that is meaning that he had 100% confidence that their opponents aren't really going to attack. And that was the case. As good as China was playing in the previous 2 games, this was some very, very low level thinking from them. And yeah, exactly, that's the other thing. Kuman boom is probably the one of the most underrated elements of the game. It can work if you execute it well. But I feel like it's so predictable that you're gonna go for a Kuman 2TC boom. That nowadays, like let's say you play 1v1. If it's a 1v1 game, you are likely to, like if you're up against Kumans in a 1v1 game, you probably should just Rush FC it, or maybe even Naked FC it. But just go Naked FC or Rush FC and Siege. Get free Mangonels out, and they're not going to hold it. They're not going to be able to hold it if you execute it well. Because Kumans are so predictable. And because of that, once you see Kumans, MBL could just say, okay, I'm going to go full castle. Just look at that. That's what shows. That's a naked fast castle timing over there for MBL. He knew all along that Yo was gonna Kuman boom, and he punished him for it. And really, what makes this choice weird from China is that they have really punished Finland for doing the exact same thing. So I don't understand why they think that it's gonna work. They have shown everybody how to defeat that strategy. So now they're going to do the strategy that Suomi lost with. I don't know, man. That's a waste of Kumans as well, because Kumans, I mean, I also pointed out that maybe a less greedy play, just going for less Voyagers and going for a rather faster castlage and getting the Kip check out or the defensive castle out, could have worked out. Yo went full greed, got punished for it very, very badly. And I feel like this is going to give a new momentum for Norway, because after the first two games, it kind of felt like Norway might have been falling apart. But now, it is probably Norway back on track in this one. So, they might sense the blood in the water. Yo and Lix made a kind of crucial mistake, to be honest. Anyways, let's see what we're left with. We're gonna go to the first home map of China A. That's 99% going to be Nomad. If it's Nomad, Norway has the better civs for it. They used the Burmese, but it's going to be Spanish and Malians probably. Spanish and Malians seems very, very nice for Nomad. Other side, what China A is gonna do on Nomad, I have no idea. Maybe Vietnamese can work. Lithuanians is solid, but if you go Lithuanians on Nomad, where do you, or what do you use on Chaos Pit? I don't think that China has good civs for Nomad. I think it's Japanese. I think Koreans. Because Koreans can do more or less the same thing as Spanish with war wagons. I think you have to. On Nomad, the fast castle unique unit strategy of Burmese, Spanish is so strong that you can't just completely neglect it. Koreans would give you a chance to do like 90% the same thing. So that would actually be a reasonable decision for China. Like Koreans, Japanese. And that would leave Lithuanians and Incas for Chaos Pit. For Team Islands, they could go... Oh, they can't go Japanese here. Although on Team Islands, they could just go full YOLO like they did against Spain and not even go for the water civs. Against Spain, they went Teutons and Celts to water, so maybe we're going to see something like that. We'll see. But they might actually preserve Japanese for Team Islands. And we're going to Nomad. No surprise about that. Not gonna lie. So, I'm gonna have to restart my game because, you know, spectating sometimes bugs out. But we will be jumping into game number 3 over here in a matter of seconds. So far, 2-1 lead for China over here, but based on the remaining civilizations, I have a strong feeling that Norway is now having a better time for the remainder of the games. Because they have very, very good lineup for Nomad here with Mali and Spanish. We could use Saracens on Chaos Pit, because the Saracen market bonus might be very, very good. In fact, Saracen market bonus might be good enough to just go archers. In fact, I think that's the plan. I think that would be the plan. You go Chaos Pit Saracens and buy the gold, or like sell the stone, basically get the gold with the market to get the archers out. This is something that has been done, I think, in Battle of Africa, with Saracens on certain maps, where you had to get to the outside to get gold, it is something that can work out well. The Saracen play. So like something like Saracen's Teutons for Chaos Pit, Spanish Malians for Nomad. Team Islands can be Portuguese, Malay, for example. And you're a little bit low on cavalry civs. That's a bit of a problem. That's a significant problem right now, that you might not go Malians on Nomad because you will need cavalry civs still for Chaos Pit and Valley. And if you go Spanish on Nomad, then the two cavalry civs will be Teutons or Malians. Or you use Portuguese as a cavalry civ and go Malay on the water map. Portuguese as a cavalry civ is actually reasonable, but you have to play aggressive with it. We'll see if that's the case. But we got game number 4 up, and that is Nomad to no one's surprise. And there's the Koreans from China to no one's surprise either. Here we are. This is game number 4 in the best of 7 between China and Norway. This is Nomad, and we are going to have Viper in blue Spanish. No surprise about that. It turns out that they're going to go for probably the strongest combination of civs. MBL is playing Malians, right next to the TC of Mr. who's playing Lithuanians. Lithuanians is an amazing civ for Nomad because you start with a bunch of extra food that helps so much. And we're gonna have Koreans for Licks, which is trying to be your budget Spanish, basically trying to do the same thing, fast castle into unique unit. One thing that's interesting to see is that, as I said, Yo and MBL will be super close to each other. MBL has a better access to stone. In fact, Yo isn't really gonna have any stone accessible to him. But Yo is gonna get the TC up a tiny bit faster, so he's gonna have the chance to spot MBL. Docks. We're gonna have a kinda bad dock, to be honest, for Yo. Because you have one deep fish close by, a second one that's very close, but then it's going to be very inefficient with fishing ships traveling from here to here. This is a very bad dock for Yo. And remember, both teams still have their restart, so there is a very good chance that China might call the restart upon seeing this dock position. And maybe even upon seeing the TC position of MBL over here. So, it appears the Viper's gonna have a nice little TC spot over here, gold and stone close by. 2 minutes have passed from the game. It's going to be free very soon. You can call a restart on the 4-minute mark, and now I think that both teams will understand that Yo and Licks are, or Yo and MBL are very, very close to each other. This is actually a nice stone and gold spot for Yo. And honestly, if you remember Yo's game versus Miguel and Dogawa in the semifinals, what they did was trap Miguel. Basically, Miguel was in a peninsula and Yo was very close to him. The same exact thing could be done here by Yo. The same exact thing. If Yo is like, okay, playing towers, voling this one off, and then voling this one off, he could trap MBL here and just drop a castle in MBL's face with MBL having nowhere to run. And remember that MBL is decent in Nomad, but not amazing. That Idle Voyager, yeah, that's a restart from Yo. That's a restart. So, MBL is not a bad Nomad player, but he's not primarily a Nomad player. Whereas for Chinese players, both of them are very, very heavy on Nomad. In fact, if you actually saw Wobbly lobbies back in the day, when Big Nomad was a thing, we had like 4 Chinese players and 4 European players in. European players were always saying that they should play Arabia team games. Chinese players were always saying Nomad. So, it was like, who is the stronger at deciding it? And it turns out that in many cases the Chinese were the ones that were like, okay, we're playing Nomad no matter what. So it is understandable that Nomad is the home map selection of Chinese team over here. And I 100% expect them to win this map, which would put Viper and MBL in a pretty big hole. I think Viper and MBL kind of must win this. And it's going to be a hard fight. Because you and Licks are amazing on Nomad. I don't have statistics about that, but it would be nice to see how many games you and Licks have lost on Nomad in this tournament. Because I don't think they have lost a lot. they might be 100% win rate on Nomad. Anyways, we are gonna have game number 4 coming up here in a matter of moments. So, Nomad with Koreans and what was the other civ? I don't remember. It was Spanish and Malians versus Koreans and Lithuanians. Gonna be interesting to take a look at. In unique fights, Conquistadors have a slight mobility advantage, but the War Wagons actually have the advantage in the combat capabilities. So I personally prefer the Conquistadors over War Wagons here because the Conquistadors will have the mobility advantage and you mainly want to raid with them and not take direct engagements. But we'll see. Also, I think I prefer Malians over Lithuanians in the long run. Early game, it's a little bit different, but in the long run, I prefer Malians because unless Lithuanians pick up Free Lakes, they are not really going to be that amazing in combat against like Forimba Cavalry or Forimba Camos even. So, we have a new Nomad map generation over here, a very, very open right side. Whoever gets a dock up here, it's going to be like a jackpot type of a dock. Red is Lix as Koreans, very, very nice TC spot for him. He's got a boar, some huntables. That second boar is kind of far away, so not a huge amount of food for Lix to work with, which could be a problem. And, well, they called a restart already, so they can't restart it anymore. So, nice stone, wood, and gold spot. It's a matter of how much food that you can grab. Here, Lix with a nice little dock spot over here close to the fish. We are gonna have Viper on the far right side of the map with Spanish, with what is probably going to be a restart worthy town center, to be honest. He's not close to gold, not close to stone. That's not a town center that you want to have. Norway still has the restart. MBL's TC spot is also quite bad, to be honest. I mean, it's close to quite a reasonable amount of food. 2 boars should be easily accessible. And it's a little bit too far out for that. And stones and golds are close. So you could actually make this one happen, but Viper's map is very, very disturbing. Also, players are separated far away from each other, but I have a feeling that China is going to have a lot more, like, safe space at the back of their base that's, like, completely untouched. One thing to point out is there is actually a shallows crossing here. And, well, until the 4-minute mark, you can actually call your restart. We'll see if Viper is going to go for that. As we have a nice chat between this turkey and the wild boar over here. So, 3 minutes have passed. Usually players wait out until the 4-minute mark to see if they want to call a restart. And Viper knows that he doesn't have any close golds and stones. We'll see how long he waits to actually get some scouting info. But as I said, I feel like this is a restart worthy town center spot for Viper. The dock here for Yo is actually very well positioned. Nice little safe in the corner, nowhere close to enemies. Ambi has a nice corner here as well with his dock. Viper and Lix are super close to each other in terms of dock positions. And 4 minutes have passed, so Norway decides not to call their restarts on this, but that's actually pretty bad because Viper, I mean, if he wants stone, he has to go here. If he wants gold, he has to go here. None of these spots are ideal for a player that wants to fast castle Conquistador. So I personally think that you and Lix have a massive map advantage over here because MBL's gold and stone spot isn't great either. This is something that could be exposed very, very early on. And we'll see if China can punish the Norwegians for potentially allowing this map generation to be played. Because I feel like Norway should have used his restart here. Of course, you want to preserve your restart unless, like, you don't want to waste your restart. But here, especially on Nomad, I feel like those map generations are so bad that you could really make an argument for it. Although, we'll see. Maybe they can get something out of it, and we're going to talk about the fact that, oh yeah, how cool is it that they saved their restarts. Lix was pinging something here, and here... I don't know what they're pinging over there, because I don't think Viper is there. Maybe it's just the approximate spot of the opponent. Because they're scouting over here, don't see any enemies. I think Yo is soon going to find Viper with the turkeys. Yeah, he should be finding Viper. So they will know one of the players... Oh, no, that's Ambiel. But they will know that one of the players will be over here. And I guess they might find the other player over here on the right side as well. It might be fishing ships bumping into each other. They see the house, but that's not necessarily indicative. Because sometimes you just use your villager on the dock to build a house. So seeing one house over here doesn't mean that Viper is here. And meanwhile, Yo, I'm just gonna show this off. But you could look at that. This is Yo scouting. Losing track of a turkey like this. He even sees the house, but even without the house, you would actually see that you lose track of the turkey. There has to be an opponent over there. That's MBL. And in the meanwhile, I think Lix also pinged the TC spot of MBL over here, because they probably suspect MBL to be here as well, and they are absolutely right about that. So, with that, Yo with Lithuanians, he is gonna have a nice little fishing eco over here, and I guess he's the one that goes for the fire galley play. And he should have a slightly better fuel age time than MBL. MBL is the one that plays Fire Galley here, most likely. And it is worth pointing out that in the Scandinavia game, MBL actually beat Yo on water, even though Yo wasn't focusing that hard on the water. The tricky thing here is going to be that the two fast casting players will have their docks very close to each other, so they might have untouched fish booms here for quite a significant amount of time. No villagers lost just yet. Yo is at 24 villas, though this is the power that you get from Lithuanians. Viper and MBL at 23 both. Lix is at 22 only. That's actually a pretty low will count for him. But MBL didn't go for loom just yet. And Yo is just scouting around, chilling. And, well, he could have tried laming that gold mine, because MBL is now going for that gold. Indeed, ready to click up to fuel age here, and he's gonna go for the fire galleys. Lix is actually not clicking up, of course, but Yo isn't clicking up either. What is Yo up to? Needs to cancel the... Oh, I think he didn't have the buildings, right? He doesn't have a lumber camp, doesn't have a mill. He needs the mining camp to click up, and that's probably why Yo isn't up yet, but that's going to be a late fuel age compared to MBL, and MBL could punish that pretty easily. We got the Lix going up to fuel here as well. 25 eco only. Seems a little bit ambitious. This isn't gonna be a good war galley or a war wagon play, but maybe he doesn't want to go for war wagons. You never know. If he's gonna mill the huntables here, honestly, if you look at the Lix's food income, it might be enough. Viper is also going up here. He's going up at 28 eco. Viper's gonna have no trouble getting the food in here. But he doesn't have gold, he's just getting the villagers out here. 2 villagers to a this far away gold mine isn't gonna be enough for Viper. He needs to go for a market strategy, like probably sell 100 stone. Meanwhile, we are gonna have a forward Brax here by MBL trying to disrupt Mr. Yo. Mr. Yo is gonna drop a Brax here as well. Vo's out MBL. Let's see what MBL wants to do here. Is he going for scouts? MBL doesn't have loom, so MBL skipped loom to have a better fuel age time than his opponent, but that's actually pretty risky over here. A tower is coming up. Yo is not up to fuel age yet, so Yo might lose his wood line in this one. MBL coming in with fire galleys as well. 2 docks for him. Yo only has 1 dock. And there is no escape path here, so these fishing ships could all die from Mr. Yo. MBL seems to be outplaying Yo here in this one so far. There is a galley coming out though from Lix. I like that. Something that Viper might not do. He's going for fire galley. The thing is that the galley is actually a little bit better at killing fishing ships than fire galleys are at the beginning. So if Lix micros this right, he could actually finish off Viper's fish here relatively fast. That counter tower comes in here from Yo, and he rushes that tower up so fast. MBL is gonna have to cancel it. MBL is going for a scout. Second dock is up for Mr. Yo as well. He's gonna get the fire galleys out. And, well, Yo is also playing scouts. So the 2 players on the left-hand side are just mirroring each other's moves. And in the meanwhile, Lix, that's more than a +2 click up. I think he clicked up at 25, and it's gonna be like 25 plus 4-ish to click up. But that faster fuel age time means that he can actually go for an aggression on the water, and that's exactly what he's trying to do. So he clicked up faster knowing that he's going to spend a little bit more time in Feudal, but he's doing so that he can pressure Viper's food eco on water. But Viper is going to have a much better castle age time over here, even though he's a little bit low on gold. I think that this is something that Yo can commit to. He should have committed to that because now MBL is going to vote those villagers in. And both of those villagers were low enough HP for a single scout to finish them off. Viper coming in with a market, could be villagers killed here from the snake. Let's see if Yo can actually punish Viper. And right now, Viper is getting harassed by both Lix and Yo. And the only player that is really being untouched is Lix. His fishing eco is safe, his land eco is safe. Lix is going up to castle age a little bit faster than Viper does. And here's the tower from Mr. Yo, a very, very good tower. With the support of the Spearman, you are going to have a tower up on Viper's stone mine, and Viper is going to be delayed with his castle drop. Viper is going to have no stone to get his castle up here. And remember that Viper doesn't have a lot of good stone mines to play with. He can still fall back over here, which would be something that he should do. But it's going to delay him towards Conquistadors by a massive margin. And that's huge. Viper is counter-towering this one, but that's still a huge amount of delay that's caused on him. And in the meanwhile, Yo is having a reasonable fight on water. Fire Galley is out for Lix as well. Lix is going to have to run a tiny bit, but he also has a galley that could just harass the fishing eco of the Viper. So I guess both fast castling players will lose their fishing eco, but MBL is going to have to run because Yo is winning on water, and Yo is honestly winning on land as well. Here is going to be a very aggressive castle drop here by Lix. It's a little bit ambitious because MBL is now heading towards the base of Lix, and Lix doesn't have a lot to defend with. So with spears, potentially towers, but I think they're gonna castle drop MBL. They will drop a castle on this hill, supported by the Spearman of Mr. Yo, I believe. Right? And MBL, that's only on the stone and the gold, but that's still a beautiful castle spot, because it's going to deny the gold and stone of MBL. MBL is gonna have the scouts out here, and he's gonna drop a tower, but does that matter? I mean, Yo can actually take a fight here. That was a moonwalking scout for a brief moment. Yo is gonna lose a villager or not. MBL, no idea. Actually, he sees the castle and he's gonna have a huge PTSD about that castle. Lan kind of dropped a very, very similar castle to him, to this one. In here, Yo is gonna run with the villagers for now. I think Yo needs to make a few more spears so that he can actually beat MBL here on land, because he is doing so on water. Meanwhile, this galley is doing so much damage to Viper's fishing eco. And a turtle ship, ladies and gentlemen. We have seen so many unique units being used in this tournament. We have seen Shoral Warriors, we have seen Tarkans, we have seen War Elephants, and now a turtle ship from Lix, and it's a good idea. Because Fire Galleys kind of struggle against turtle ships. This bad boy over here is going to deny Viper's entire fishing eco. And in the meanwhile, the castle is up in the face of MBL. And now I feel like Lix can just follow it up with a Siege Workshop and Mangonels. They can already start pushing MBL's eco over here. I mean, MBL has a tower up here, but it isn't even... This tower isn't even in the range of the gold and the stone. So this is doing like absolutely nothing. And because MBL is off from gold, Yo can win the water and absolutely smash the fishing eco of Norway. If you look at the eco numbers, Yo has 41, Lix 34, and Lix is already in castle age. And Viper and MBL, both at 30 and 35. There's a castle drop here on the other side by Viper, something that Yo isn't gonna be able to stop. But I feel like the castle from Lix is a little bit more dangerous to MBL. Remember, these are guard towers, because Koreans get the free tower upgrades. So guard towers is going to be awfully hard to clean up. And now the war wagons will just force MBL to run once again. As I said, this is so similar than what we have seen from Spain against Norway. And that turtle ship is really paying for its price over here. Conquistadors are coming in. Yo is still far away from Castle Age himself. MBL is still making scouts. So I think that Yo needs to invest a little bit more into the spears and the scouts to clean up MBL at least over here. But simultaneously, Lix is doing an excellent job just killing MBL here. MBL is like running for his life right now. And Yo might just spot these villagers escaping. And if Yo spots the villagers escaping, he's just gonna tell Lix, hey, MBL is over here. Come here, friend, and kill him. And they're going to see the mass migration. They are going to see the mass migration of MBL here, so those war wagons will be heading in this direction very soon. Siege Workshop on the hill, so you can mango this one down with a hill advantage. In there as well for you. Yo could actually make a galley and just harass those villagers with it. That could also work out nicely. MBL, no upgrades on those scouts. Same thing for Mr. Yo. Now, there is Conquistadors on the field for Viper. And let's see if you're going to have a monastery from either side. Theoretically, MBL's army is a little bit more scary than Yo's army. That's something to pay attention for. But behind this one, remember that China has a much bigger fish boom. So the eco for China is just far better than that of Norway. Yo is going to need a demo here to win this fight, though, on the water. And, well, turns out Conquistadors are coming in. Who wins Conk versus War Wagon fight? Depends on micro, but War Wagons are very, very sturdy. So, especially if monks are involved, I think that War Wagons are supposed to be superior, but it's a little bit easier to micro the Conquistadors. So it's really tricky, because you can see that Viper has the speed advantage, Viper has a huge damage output, but War Wagons are super sturdy units. It depends if the Conquistador player can avoid the arrows coming in from that. Anyways, like, MBL is still mass migrating, just trying to find somewhere to go. And MBL's got no eco, and that's a huge difference. I mean, Yo isn't in a great spot either, but Yo at least has something. MBL has nothing. He's got, like, villagers here, and they're getting some food at least for him. But, I mean, he's gonna lose his TC. He doesn't have enough wood, by the way, to rebuild the TC. Yeah, exactly, Joshua. I would also say that probably until Ballistics comes in, Conquistadors. But remember that these conks right now do not have Bloodlines, for example. But Viper is great with the micro. I think that when Ballistics comes in, which is coming in for Licks, and when Botkin comes in, he should have no trouble with dealing with those. And, I mean, MBL is gonna get smashed. It doesn't matter what Viper is doing with the Conquistadors if MBL is getting slaughtered like that, because it's a slaughter. I mean, Lix is even pulling some villagers to kill this, but it doesn't matter. MBL is down to 35 villagers, lowest in the game. Yo did lose some villagers over here, and his market is gonna be delayed, that's for sure. But behind this one, I mean, MBL doesn't have a safe wood income. MBL is just so dead right now. And he's gonna be even more so dead. I don't know these villagers why they're running, still chasing those units. Conquistadors heading towards base of Lix over here. But now it is Ballistics as well. So now this should be a good fight for Lix. And there are some War Wagons on the field. He should have killed that 1 HP Conquistador, but he didn't do so. I also prefer the Mangonel for Lix over the Ram, because you probably want to take that TC down without getting close to it, because villagers could bash it down. Viper is playing on 2 TCs, something we shouldn't underestimate. There's 2 TCs as well for Lix, but not a lot of food eco to play with. Viper has no fish, MBL has no fish either. And, well, Yo doesn't really have any fish either, because MBL cleaned this one up. A majestic turtle ship sails in here to clean that one up. For now, there is still quite a lot of mess that MBL created here with the scouts. But, I mean, MBL is not in a position to become a factor anytime soon. He is not close to Castle Age. This TC isn't even safe to go up to Castle Age with. And, I mean, Yo, I think, is just idling his TC so he can go up to Castle here. And if we get Castle from Yo, he's gonna be able to go for Monks, he's gonna be able to go for Knights, potentially. And the guard towers will be very, very hard to kill with the Conquistadors. It's not like you just push them down with Villagers, or it's not like you push them down with Mangonels. One conversion is in from a Monk of Viper, trying to snipe down the Mangonel, but as I said, those Villagers, getting the guard tower up is going to be the real problem for Viper. And also, MBL, I mean, this TC is still standing. Lix slowly getting some more stone for himself. This is gonna be cleaned up. The entire backside of China is now safe, I would say. And, even more importantly, Yo is about to go into Castle Age. So does MBL. So both of the players that didn't go fast castle are going up right now. And it's kind of what Joshua said about the War Wagons. Until Ballistics comes in, the Conquistadors are superior, but once Ballistics is in, War Wagons are just going to be much better, especially if you have some monks behind it to heal. If you have like 1 or 2 monks behind to heal, it's even better. Viper is off from gold as well, and that's something to pay attention for. The guard towers are forcing him away from the gold and the stone spot, and this stone spot is something that Viper is going to have to fall back to. Meanwhile, you got some spears over here from Yo chasing down some pikes. And Lix is just tower rushing his way into this game, basically. They're going for a monastery, I like that, because they want to make sure that there is no more monks coming in here. And Yo's got enough stone to drop his own castle by the time he reaches Castle Age. So Yo could easily castle drop MBL here and just finish him off. And that would allow Lix to just focus on Viper now. Viper 65 eco, Lix at 60. The weak factor or the weakest link right now seems to be MBL with 37 eco only. And Yo's gotta have a much better eco than he does. Bloodlines is in, so we're probably going to see Knights coming in pretty soon. Monks getting one conversion in acceptable fight, I would say, for Lix. If he can kill the TC, this is an acceptable fight. And I think he should be able to. The War Wagons are very, very tanky, and that's one of the things that Koreans give you here. War Wagons are so tanky that they can just sit beneath the town center, not something that Conquistadors can conveniently do. Now, you want to have those War Wagons in here, and Viper is out of... Viper wasn't out of anything. I'm not sure why he stopped repairing. But, yeah, now there is one battering ram down, so I think this TC is going to stand for now, but Viper is losing villagers trying to repair that, and he's got 27 idols, whereas Lix's eco is untouched, and that's huge. Lix's eco is untouched, MB are going into sling mode with coinage coming in here, but there's already, as I said, Yo Knights coming out, and Yo is gonna be able to drop a castle pretty soon in this one. MBL is not gonna be a factor anytime soon, not gonna lie. And the problem is that a Viper and MBL will be confined to this little space over here as well. Can I ask how Yo got archer ranges up here? I didn't even notice these. Viper, I mean, Yo got a stable and 2 archer ranges up in the face of Viper. And the Viper apparently responded with a castle. That's so weird. So yeah, the problem here, number one, look at this. Villagers from Mr. Yo, they are trying to just expose the right flank of Viper over here. And Viper and MBL will be confined to this little peninsula with little resources. If they kill MBL here, and it seems like Yo and Lix should be able to kill MBL here at this side, then there's not gonna be map control for Viper and MBL, and that's going to be the same way, or things will be happening the same way that it happened against Spain for Norway. They're not gonna have map control, they will have nowhere to run. And look at this, stone walls are up here for Mr. Yo, buying some time. They Lix open up the walls here, but Yo is gonna have to stonewall this one as well. And, well, DC is going down from Viper. He still has some villagers on gold, but now his eco is being exposed quite heavily. He's down to 68 villagers, and you see why Nomad is the home map of the Chinese team. You see why they're some of the best, in fact, I think the best Nomads team in 2v2 World Cup. They have been absolutely stunning in Nomad. In the majority of the games, they have played extremely well, and now it's the same thing as one. Honestly, I think that Viper and MBL might even have the civ advantage here, because based on what we're seeing in these fights, I'm tempted to say that I still prefer Conquistadors over the War Wagons now, because Conquistadors have a huge amount of damage output here, and it seems like it's a little bit easier to mass them, even though part of that is the fact Viper has like 2 or 3 castles making them, whereas for Lix it's just 1 castle, I believe. Yeah, Lix is making 1 castle War Wagons only, Viper is doing multiple castles here. Second castle from Lix on that hill might even be in the range of MBL's TC. It should be over here instead, so that it kills MBL's TC for sure. Meanwhile, right side is still peaceful, but as I said, MBL and Viper are confined into very, very small spaces over here. And, well, those battering rams are also causing a lot of annoyance right now for Norway. Meanwhile, Yo is gonna have a nice little chill fish boom in the corner as well. And Yo has got 63 villagers, MBL's at 51 only. And, well, Yo did make some lattice as well. I would love to see some lattice being sent here, for example, or knights. Just raid Viper's eco at the back, because, indeed, here it is, some lattice coming in here to get some raiding damage done. But Viper is actually going to trade 1 monk for 3 lattice, so that actually is satisfactory. But they're slowly getting forced back. They're slowly getting forced back, and Lix's resource isn't looking very, very bad to click into Imperial. Like, he could actually go into Imperial in a foreseeable future. In fact, he has stone to drop another castle very soon to win any kind of trap fight here as well. He's even floating a bunch of wood, so especially if he balances out his eco, we could see him going into Imp rather soon. Meanwhile, for Viper, he is still kind of far away. Kongs could actually try getting through here, and it's a mistake from China that this is not walled off. because Viper could actually get through these walls. It's not super hard. It takes some time, but he could actually get through these, and then Yo and Lix could actually have their backs exposed. Meanwhile, another castle coming in here from Viper, but it's a little bit ambitious against guard towers. I mean, those guard towers are beastly, and this is old patch Koreans, so they have 11 range, and they have a huge amount of firepower. So I'm not even sure if Viper's gonna get this castle up, honestly. Because it's 2 towers firing, at least one of them is killing villagers. Another villager is gonna be suffering from heavy firing. It's gonna go up. It's gonna go up, but it actually causes Viper to lose a bunch of villagers. So it wasn't as great as it could have been, to be honest, for Viper. And I don't think it actually gives them anything. Viper is gonna have 4 castles up. He's going to Imperial. Same thing as Lix. Lix has less castles, though. So Viper could theoretically win the trap war here. So I think that now exactly what you have to do if you're Yo is just go and raid Viper. Viper and MBL both at 66 villagers. Yo is at 88. US had some crazy boom, and now MBL is gonna have to do a mass migration. Let's see if they spot this. If they spot this, MBL is gonna lose 15 villagers here without any problems. Also, hill advantage is on the side of Lix over here. Yo, far away from Imperial himself, but he's gonna kill some villagers from Viper, and Viper is gonna start running down on stone. In fact, Viper has 200 stone in the bank, which will be much needed to repair the castles in the trap war. Viper's gonna have a perfectly even imp time compared to Lix. Another castle is coming up here on this gold mine for now. It seems like China isn't going to spot MBL. Actually, they see the mine here. They could actually send some units here, like just a few latest, and MBL would lose so much. Market goes down for MBL as well. And Viper is just making mass conquistadors, like 10 conquistadors queued up. Well, not 10, but around that time. So whoever wins the trap war might win the game over here. Yo still being a little bit disruptive over here, but the conquistadors are here to help out. I feel like if you can kill MBL's villagers here, that's going to have a huge effect on the game as well, because Yo is imping as well, and that's not something to underestimate. Because if Yo is imping, he's gonna be able to get traps out on the field as well, and apparently, look at all these hilltop castles for Lix. He's gonna have a bunch of castles that will be making traps firing down hills. MBL's eco once again breached here at the back, and Viper's gold miners could also be exposed. MBL is nowhere close to Imperial, and one latest is gonna kill everything here for MBL. So MBL is gonna drop down to like 50-ish villagers, and let's see, Viper going for supremacy! Viper is going for supremacy! He's being raided so much that he's actually gonna go supremacy. Now that being said, I'm not sure if that's the right thing to do. Like, it could be just a meme from Viper, or it could actually be serious. Because supremacy could actually make sense here to a certain extent, but I feel like you prioritize traps. Because you want traps, in fact, Lix is making a huge mistake not making traps on all of his castles. He should be making traps on all 3 of these, and Lix isn't doing that. Like, when every second matters in a trap war. So, you really want to make traps on all of your castles all the time, and he has the resources to do that. He has the resources to do that. So it's a huge mistake from Lix not making traps. Like, this one is also idle. That being said, I mean, MBL is gonna start losing his villagers over here. And really, remember that we also have Yo coming into Imperial here. There is going to be one castle being destroyed because there is no repairs for Viper. And that's also something to point out. Lix is gonna lose one castle, but Viper, I think his castles are in a much worse position. Because he's gonna have one castle that's safe, and now these 2 castles are relatively safe for Lix, whereas for Yo can start trapping these down. So I think that Lix might be able to save these 2 castles, whereas Viper is probably gonna be able to just keep this one alive. There is 2 traps firing down here, the 3rd one is coming in. Lix needs to do a better job at setting up those traps and getting ready for firing. Viper pulling the villagers. He's actually using the villagers as a meat shield. He has 100 and... no, he has 67 villagers. This is a meme from Viper. This is a full meme from Viper then. Because it makes 0 sense to pull villagers when you have 68 villas. I mean, it helps taking down this castle, but does that going to change the game for you? There is bombard cannons as well. Lix is losing his war wagon numbers, but this is the moment when Yo should go elite skirm. If Yo goes elite skirm, by the way, Viper doesn't have elite conquistador, and there is going to be elite war wagon coming in very soon. Bombard cannons are also out, or soon to be out for Lix. so he could take those traps down, and Viper indeed is just gonna call it. I think when I saw those Villagers being pulled to fight, it was fairly obvious. I mean, MBL is nowhere close to being a factor. Elite Lattice is coming in here for Yo. He's got another castle, but Yo would be able to trap this one down, and Yo can go Elite Skirms and eat the Conquistadors with them. Somewhat expectedly, I would say. But China is gonna be Nomad. We know how strong they are on Nomad, and they're actually winning with the weaker civs. I've actually favored Viper and MBL civ here. Maybe not Malians over Lithuanians, but definitely Spanish over Koreans. But it turns out that Lix actually had a very, very good game over here. He did what he had to, wasn't very, very flashy, but they forced MBL to run, and it turns out that, well, at the end of the day, it was a very, very nicely executed game plan from China. Once again, I like the fast up from Lix for galleys, because what it gave him is a chance to harass Viper's fish before Viper was able to react to that, because Viper went for a later feudal age click up. And simultaneously, Lix was able to add a lot of eco behind his War Wagon play, and MBL always had to run, whereas Leo didn't have to. So, like, once again, the lack of space is gonna kill Norway, and I think that the main reason why Viper tapped out is because he didn't really have any more gold to work with. I mean, he could get this gold mine, but they kind of start understanding that they have nowhere to go on this map. MBL is far from being a factor, and I mean, MBL is at 62 villagers. If you look at the score, it's a massive lead for China, and at some point, Yo is gonna arrive with a bunch of lattice. And they see Yo's score, they know that he's just as close to villagers to Lix. So, with that, game number 4 in the hands of China, 1 game away from match or winning this tournament. It is gonna be match point over here. Heavy slinging coming in for MBL, but that wasn't enough to swing the battle back into their favor. Yo and Lix, after a kind of disastrous Team Acropolis play, I feel like they actually came back very, very nicely. And this is the moment where I want to quickly look at... They are not giving us time to do that. But we have an immediate next game. So we're not going to look at China's previous tournament accomplishments, something I wanted to do. But we are not going to waste any more time. We're going into Valley over here. Match point in 2v2 World Cup. Saracens for Viper in blue. And we are going to have MBL's Malay in green. This has to be something weird, because these two civs don't match up well. The Malay is a pure archer civ. Pretty bad with the cavalry. Some of the worst cavalry in the game. They have elephants, but they're too slow for this map. Saracens, they have knights, but they can't actually scale them up to cavalier. So once again, not a cavalry civ. It's 2 archer civs. And it has to be a mastermind plan here for Norway. It's a match point, so they can't afford to just go, okay, YOLO, whatever we take, we take. They have to go for a real sure strategy here. Otherwise, they're gonna get 4-1 over here by China, who has been performing extremely well throughout the entire tournament. Not gonna lie, like, they have been playing absolutely great. And while there is Dark Age, I'm just gonna quickly check out what was the last accomplishment of Yo and Lix. Meanwhile, we have some laming attempts from China over here. Remember, Norway still has a restart available. So even if they get lamed, there is still a potential for a restart. Why are we dropping frames? We're dropping a few frames. Okay, should be good now. Sorry, whatever happened, happened. Alright, so Battle of Africa 2, Yo, Lix, and I think it was Paladin, the third player, got third and fourth place. Meanwhile, nothing is really happening so far here. So I can keep browsing that. I'm just gonna bring it to my other monitor so I can do it while we're spectating the game. So, really, I don't even see a semi-finalist performance for Yo and Lix in any of the tournaments in recent memory. So, like, the Tete Invitational that was last year, or was it early on? They went fourth place. Doubles age, Lix's team was 7 and 8. So really, China didn't have an amazing team game performances in recent memory. Like Battle of Africa 2, third, fourth place. It was AM Secret back then, and I'm not even sure which one was the final team in Battle of Africa 2. Empire vs Duo, they actually were quarterfinalists, only losing to GL. So really, there weren't really any, like, even semi-final performances were actually rare for Yo and Lix. They're here in the grand finals of the 2v2 World Cup, and they're actually up 2 games against Viper and NBL, 1 game away from winning this one, and their opponents having a weird strategy, because I have absolutely no idea what Malay and the Saracens are up to here. I have absolutely no idea. Like, using either Malay or Saracens are actually quite bad for cavalry. So I have absolutely no idea. In fact, I might have one thing on my mind. That could be that this map is very volable. So MBL could technically wall himself, go fast castle, and sling Viper. And if you sling Viper, especially with Viper having the market play, you might sling Viper into fast Imperial Age Arblasts. That's something that we did when we played with Hungary B against Switzerland on Arena. And the two strategies are comparable because you can probably play just as safe, or at least a little bit less safe, but probably you can vote yourself easily here, and it's unlikely that you're going to face a massive amounts of early aggression. So it's very, very possible that we are going to see something like Sling Saracens into Arblasts type of play, and kind of use them just like Obsidian Arrow Arblasts. Because that would definitely be a possibility. Viper is going to land some hits on Lix's scout over here. Lix is going for what is going to be a Drush FC. We haven't even talked about the Chinese team Civs. Lix is playing Tatars in red and Magyars for Yo in yellow with a rather fast fuel age. It doesn't mean that Yo is going to go for scouts, because Yo might just go and go for the eco approach and then go castle age. To play this one with. Viper isn't fully walled, and that could be pretty problematic when the militias arrive and they're on the way. MBL focusing on walling himself, and indeed this is probably gonna be a fast castle from him. Especially with Malay, you can pull off a very, very strong economy fast castle. That's always nice to have. So Malay is actually very, very strong as a arena civilization, for example. One of the reasons why is because their fast castle is quite strong with the eco behind. Anyways, Yo is making a Brax, which makes me believe that we are going to see scouts, but that requires Lix to keep the hole open for Yo's scouts. It's not impossible that that's gonna happen, because Viper is far from fully walled, and there are already militias around, so this is definitely doable. Now, Yo or Lix is gonna lose that scout, because Yo is gonna have Field Age, or Viper is gonna have Field Age a little bit faster. He's gonna be able to chase it down, unless Lix turns around and gets some hits on Viper Scout. Viper reacts well, but there are some militias inside Viper's base, which is far from ideal. Viper is going up at 22 pop, fairly unconventional unless you go Man-at-Arms archers or straight archers, but I'm not sure if I like the straight archers play here from Viper, because I don't think he can inflict enough damage with it, and it turns out Viper is playing straight archers. What is the plan here for Norway? Are they gonna go double archer civs? That would be kind of a full disaster. If you go double archer civs, one of your opponents will just switch into skirmishers and clap you with that. Especially Tatars, by the way, that even have extra pierce armor than the cav archers, so the double archer play wouldn't actually be good in the long run. And MBL is making a stable. So it's actually gonna be scouts. But Malay as a cavalry civ, not necessarily a huge fan of it. I feel like if you want to use it that way, Portuguese might be slightly better here. I mean, early on Malay will be alright, but there's like absolutely no long-term cavalry potential for Malay in this one. I would actually show the tech tree, but I want to focus on the game here because we do not want to lose sight of anything important happening. Scouts trading off against each other, and that is... I think there might be a hole here. It's a little bit hard to tell. But anyways, Viper is gonna be fully evolved, so no more scouts from Yo can actually get inside. And indeed, it turns out MBL is playing melee scouts. In this one, Yo's rush here isn't really gonna do much. Maybe... Well, yeah, it's not gonna do anything, to be honest. So, next step for Yo, they could try bashing their way into MBL's base. MBL's gonna have the scouts out, but this is already a win for Yo and Lix, if you ask me. Like, melee scouts and melee cavalry play is like massively inferior compared to Magyar cavalry play. Like, in fact, I'm just gonna show it off here while we don't have any fights. So, melee have cavalier, but melee are missing even +2 defense. So their cavalry is going to be pretty bad already in Castle Age. It's not like let's say Tatars that are lacking or blessed and have to do something after Castle Age to do something in Imperial. It's one of those civs, like melee with the cavalry, that is even going to struggle in Castle Age against the archer play, and archers will arrive because Lix is about to click up to Castle Age here. I don't like this play from Viper and MBL, and I'm not sure why they're doing this. We could actually take a look at their draft to kind of try to identify why they're trying to use melee as a cavalry save. Not even sure if that was the original plan. This may be turning into a sling eventually. But I feel like the appropriate reaction here is that if Lix and Yo realize that it's a sling, then it should be maybe Lix slinging Yo into just cavalry. And that should be able to stop Viper's crossbows and orbs. Or potentially Skirm's play could also work out. These Magyar scouts are also better than the melee scouts here, so there should be no trouble here. In fact, since the Magyar scouts are even cheaper, I think that the investment that Yo made into like 5-6 scouts is actually probably smaller than what MBL did in free-ish scouts. Anyways, Yo is just progressing towards Castle Age over here. MBL kind of doing the same thing. He's gonna have a slightly better Castle Age because they're the same resources, but melee go up a little bit faster. Probably not something unexpected. Anyways, Lix on the way towards Castle Age, getting the second range up a little bit slow here, if you ask me. But he's gonna have the free thumb ring, which is always a nice thing to have. Viper, selling his stone going up to Castle Age. But that's the problem. Like, Tatars will have a decent eco here, and will not have to rely on the market that heavily to really get themselves an advantage. Whereas Viper, he sold his stone, he's gonna have a decent amount of archers on the field. But I feel like these archer numbers will be matched by Lix. Lix has, honestly, Viper has 12 army. Lix only has 4. But Lix, on the other hand, is gonna have a much better Castle Age time, so he's gonna get crossbowmen a little bit faster. So I don't think that they will be able to do much damage to Lix here. The key is that Lix must make sure that he has the archer numbers that are comparable to Viper's archer numbers, so Viper cannot use the archers just to take down buildings, that Viper has to take fights with them. Castle Age on the way for both MBL and Yo, and that's the real question. What is MBL gonna do in Castle? He's making triple stables. The only way this works is if it's elephants. It's not gonna work with knights, because knights don't have +2 armor for melee. The cheaper melee elephants might work out though, and that's gonna be an interesting one to look at. Like, the melee elephants are super cheap, and maybe that's the plan for MBL. Flood the map with cheap melee elephants. And that could actually be very, very dangerous for Yo and Lix. We'll see if that actually works out. And elephants it is, indeed. This is basically an arena strategy from what MBL is doing here. Just go straight into elephants, and those guys are like disgustingly cheap. The only problem with them is lack of mobility. And that could hurt quite badly, because the speed advantage will be massively in the side of Yo and Lix, and they're already pressuring Viper's base here. Viper only has archers. There's already crossbow in alongside Botkin for Lix, and they also have thumb ring, and ballistics will be coming in here for Lix as well. So Viper now has crossbow. Remember, those are still thumb ring, and they also have the tar heal bonus. So this heal over here is beautiful for Lix. Every shot he takes down fields is going to have an absolutely amazing effect. Now they see the elephants, and as I said, they're a little bit wacky to fight against. And honestly, I feel like Lix could actually think about switching into Cav Archers. because the Cav Archers will actually be a reasonable unit against the elephants. Other thing that you can do is just go triple stable knights with Yo, indeed, with +2 defense, and those guys will be +2/+2, and they can go straight to the base of MBL. That's quite a lot of crossbows coming towards Lix, though. Lix is gonna have to add a third range and just get his crossbow numbers up high. Apparently, some more elephants for MBL. That's a lot of elephants. That's an awful lot of elephants, and do not underestimate the strengths of the Elephantos. Because if you look at the military numbers, Norway has much better numbers. There is a defensive tower coming up. I think that what you need in this scenario is stone walls. Like, stone wall should have, like, you don't get through the stone walls even with the Tatar or with the Saracen crossbows that easily, and elephants will not be able to get through the stone walls either for that. Anyways, I like the defensive tower here as well. It's going to protect the gold mine from Lix for the time being, and remember, mobility advantage is on the side of Yo. He can just try to intercept these straggler reinforcements and get some damage done on top of them. I would like to see Lix trying to push forward with these crossbows, try to get some damage done with them. That's a lot of elephants. That's a lot of elephants, man. This is going to be so tricky. Now they're also gonna have husbandry very soon. Yo needs to intercept some of these reinforcements, because now they are getting into Lix's econ. Honestly, as wacky as this strategy looks like, I think that this is looking very good for Norway. They have the score lead, but that's just one thing. It's about how do you stop 10 elephants here. You don't really do that. You don't really do that. It's not going to be cost efficient by any means for Norway, but it doesn't have to be. This is kind of one of those wacky, weird strategies. And now the crossbows will pop out. Knights will try to get a good start. These knights are +2/+2. And these crossbows also have tumbling ballistics. So I feel like Norway is going to lose a lot here. Like an awful lot. And now you're just going to use the knights to block the path of the elephants. And remember that behind this one, I believe Yo is 1 TC. There is 1 TC for Lix as well. Viper is playing 1 TC as well. And MBL is on 2. But now the elephants will have no chance to run away, and that's a problem. So you might lose this entire army over here, and MBL 52 villagers, it's nice and everything, but I mean, in the long run, elephants only isn't really gonna work here. Viper getting tumbling in for himself. 14 on gold, just buying the resources he needs, so he's going full market abuse strategy. I would love to see Lix dispatching a villager repairing that range, because you don't want to lose it easily. And now the knights will need to get a good surround on top of those crossbowmen. Once again, if you're China, really, MBL is booming well behind this one, but it remains to be seen if they can actually take good engagements over here. Because Viper is losing way too many crossbows once again. MBL's got +1/+1 on those elephants, but, well, it turns out to be a fairly even fight for the time being. Yo is now on 2 TCs as well, and his cavalry potential in the long run is just much better than that of his opponents. So you can see that China is just able to push this one back. I think Lix is idling his TC for quite a time. 5 villagers only on food. Doesn't even have food to make villagers. That's something that he needs to fix. But I think they're just trying to flood crossbows here. Just finishing off Viper and MBL before MBL's eco could kick in. But it's still a little bit tricky because Viper and MBL still have 18 military respectively. Lix has 34, which is huge, and now they're going for MBL. And if they go for MBL, MBL could lose villagers on the wood. And Viper isn't going to be there to help. That's the problem for them. Viper isn't going to be there to help. And indeed, they're coming in with the knights. I don't think MBL can revolt this in time. It's already +2 attack on those knights. Crossbows here will eventually melt the elephants. Once you have a good blob of crossbows, like 25, they like 2-shot elephants, and they can just run away from them pretty easily. Knights are inside MBL's eco. Viper coming in with the reinforcements, but they're kind of slow catching up. And those few knights are gonna inflict so much damage on MBL's eco because they're fast, and elephants will struggle to catch them. MBL 22 idols, this is match point. Yo is gonna have the same villagers as MBL does now, and in the meanwhile the crossbows here will probably try to trade against Viper's crossbows. That's still a lot of elephants for MBL. Probably hit and run is your best bet here, or just try to trade off against Viper's crossbows. But I mean, Lix has reinforcements coming in, and MBL has a huge amount of idols right now, and the next wave from Yo could actually be even more devastating. They could now direct their focus towards Viper as well, try to intercept reinforcements, because they still have the mobility advantage. That's not something to underestimate. Lix's eco is still extremely weak, only 3 on food. Just add 2 more wheels on foot, so at least you can keep that 1 TC working. You don't want to completely idle your eco, because as much damage as MBL took, Viper's villager count is still way better than that of Lix's, because Lix is just going full crossbow here. Pretty much an all-in strategy. I would just love to see him adding like 5 farms, so he at least has some production. Viper trying to get a TC up on actually just a mining camp, but doesn't matter because it's not gonna go up, and that's the problem with the elephants as a cavalry unit in 2v2s. They're slow, and this slow speed can actually leave you very, very exposed to faster moving units like knights, for example. And you can see that the entire army of Viper and MBL is just a big death ball. It's a huge death ball. But honestly, at this point, MBL should just start moving towards Yo's base and say, okay, I'm gonna steamroll this. Because if he's trying to chase down the army of Lix, it's never gonna work. They also have Tatar hill advantage here for Lix, firing down hills. Not the best fight for Lix though, not really microing away from those crossbows. But I feel like MBL is losing way too many elephants, and Yo is up to 70 villagers. Now Yo is booming on 3 TCs, and meanwhile, knights are showing up at MBL's base once again, and you're just trying to chase down a fast army with your rather slow elephants, and it's not gonna be efficient for MBL. It's an even KD. If you look at Yo, he's got a much better KD, and those elephants are cheap, but they're not cheap enough to justify for those big losses, and I feel like Lix once again is fulfilling his role perfectly. Just being the meat shield, getting a huge amount of archers on the field, because this allows Yo to just get a crazy boom up. Yo is actually close to clicking up to Imperial here. MBL not so much, Viper not really close. And I feel like once again, Lix can probably hold this one. I don't think that these guys can do enough damage on Lix to compensate for Yo having a completely untouched play in here. He's gonna have quite a lot of knights on the field, and well, some of those knights could actually run into the eco of MBL here as well. Here comes the big engagement. Tatar hill bonus could once again play a huge role here. Lix should just camp that hill. He's abandoning that hill. That's a bad decision because now Viper's gonna have that hill, and Viper's gonna have anti-building attack extra on those crossbows. This is a debatable decision for Lix. He's waiting for reinforcements to come in. So every second he's waiting over here, he's waiting for more crossbows, because he knows that his reinforcements are faster arriving to this engagement than the reinforcements of Viper and MBL. At this point, losing those 5 wheels is completely satisfactory for Lix. He probably would have lost anyways if he directly engages this one, but this is throwing away the entire army of Yo or Viper and MBL, and that's perfect. 4 villagers forcing this army to move to the left, buying time for Lix to get his crossbow numbers up, and even more importantly, buying time for Mr. Yo to potentially get to Imperial. If he cancelled some of those knights, he could actually get to Imperial here. And with Cavalier, he would be finishing this game off. Huge army here in the corner, something that Yo could surround. The crossbows are kind of isolated from the elephants, so there is a potential for a very, very good surround from Mr. Yo over here. Indeed, here it comes. Now Viper's gonna realize they will start pushing towards the corner, but this place could end up being an absolute death trap here for Norway. Those are Tatar crossbows. Both players now have Thumbring, but there is +2 defense on both sides. So the only thing that Tatars could get an advantage from would be a hill, like that one. But it's a very, very nice surround from the knights. From Mr. Yo, Viper is losing quite a lot of those Saracen crossbows. Viper is imping. Viper is imping at 65 villagers. As the first player, Yo needs to imp himself if he wants to win this. Because if Viper gets to imp, he's gonna snowball this with a blob of orbs like this. An orb, just like Obsidian orbs can snowball a game, the Saracen orbs can also do that. But on the other hand, MBL, I mean, he's taking very, very inefficient engagements, and that's why I don't like elephants over here. But still a lot of elephants for MBL. I mean, a huge amount of them. Yo is trying to get some monks out, but honestly, monks aren't a perfect defense against the elephants. I think what you want is Cavalier, because Cavalier should be able to beat these elephants. I think Yo has to realize that MBL is kind of going Castle Age all in here. You can't actually facilitate that many elephants without and go into Imperial at the same time. That's a lot of elephants though, and Yo needs a lot of time until he can get to Imp. He might actually sacrifice some of his knights to delay this push a tiny bit. In the meanwhile, Lix is gonna have to trade off the crossbows here because Viper has a lot of crossbows out there. It's 38 against only 20, but if Viper loses a bunch of crossbows, that's gonna delay his push in Imperial Age. So there is still an argument for Lix to fight this one, but he's gonna get utterly clapped here. Viper still has a huge amount of crossbows on the field. Crossbows are coming in though for MBL's base as well. And Lix can probably still hold this one. He's got like a bunch of ranges working for him. At least delay Viper to a certain extent. And in the meanwhile, I don't see MBL necessarily being capable of stopping this one anymore. Especially once Yo reaches Imperial. Yo's got 108 villagers. Even if Viper kills Lix here, the problem is that Viper is going to be at 65 villagers. Kind of bad Saracen eco. And Leo is going to have a +4 attack immediately. He's going to get +4 defense and Cavalier. And all they're going to do is just run into Viper's eco. They will have the ultimate mobility advantage. I think Viper knows that he needs to kill Yo and not Lix here. This could be dangerous for Mr. Yo. He could lose a lot of buildings. Yo's Imp TC is this one. That should be relatively safe. And in the meanwhile, crossbows are breaking in here. Some more crossbows on the right side. Viper getting Arbalest and Bracer in a little bit too early fight here for him. He's gonna lose a few crossbows. Orbs will just go and try to melt buildings, but it doesn't matter for Yo, I believe. If he has a safe stable, he can get Cavalier on, and if he has the Blacksmith to get the +4 defense on, he's gonna be fine. Yo is up to Imp, Cavalier, +4 defense. If that actually comes in, this army from Viper is gone. That's for sure. So from this point, I think that Lix needs to sling Yo into just insane knight numbers. Yo needs to wait with this fight until he gets the upgrades. In fact, he should be going for the kill on those Arbs. The Cavalier is coming in on one of the safer stables, I believe. Not so much. Cavalier is coming in on this stable, and that could actually be knocked down by Viper. Luckily for Yo, Viper isn't going for that. Viper isn't going for that, and in the meanwhile, Lix is gonna have a bunch of crossbows pushing Viper. Viper doesn't have a huge amount of Arbs on the field. He's got 66 eco, it's 52 army for him, but once these Cavalier arrive over here, and they will be +4/+4, they will be able to surround Viper's army, and I don't think that Viper can take a good enough engagement here to completely compensate. And meanwhile, these crossbows will break in here. If Viper loses this army, I think they're out of the tournament. Because they will not have any chance to really stop Mr. Yo with the Cavalier or maybe even Paladin. I mean, MBL's gotten some elephants, but these elephants aren't that great against +4/+4 Cavaliers. There is like a 1 age advantage. Lix inside the eco of Viper, getting some damage done. Not a huge amount of damage. But Yo is down to 25 army. He's probably massing some Cavalier back at home, gets a castle up. Yo's got a huge amount of resources. He's waiting for Paladin, which is a debatable decision in this case. He's getting Paladin in on this safe stable. I'm not a fan of this. I don't think that having 20 Paladin here is better than having 40 Cavalier. And this might backfire because Paladin is a slow upgrade to get to. And there is a lot of elephants heading their way. There is still some Arbs melting stables. I don't necessarily think that they can afford waiting this long for Paladin upgrade to come in for Mr. Yo. Now, that being said, Lix is at 58 villagers, pretty low over here, and there are Arbs heading to his eco. Norway could still do this, and I feel like the Paladin play here is a little bit greedy from Mr. Yo. Because, see, he still has to engage this one no matter what, because there are elephants coming his way. Viper could lose quite a lot of wheels in this one. That would be great for Lix. He just needs to kill wheels. Just kill the wheels. Lix, what are you doing, Lix? He's running for his life over here. Lix is down to 44 villagers, and honestly, it seems to work for Norway. I think they got this, because Lix is dead, and too greedy from Yo once again to go for Paladin. This should have been Cavalier numbers, and the Cavalier numbers would have been enough to clean up Viper's Arbs. It would have been enough to clean up MBL's Elephants, because now I feel like Norway has the advantage. They have the combined villager count lead. I mean, Lix is completely dead, like he's got nothing, which means he cannot even sling. Yo is waiting for Paladin to kick in. It's 86%, but Lix is without town center, and you want to be able to clean up Viper here. You just want to be able to clean up Viper. That being said, those are going to be fully upgraded Paladin, and they could still get that castle up and get this engagement done. Here is the Paladin upgrade. And now it is in the hands of Yo to carry this one, but it's a bad situation. They have to use their mobility advantage, like send Podin into the eco of Viper, send Podin into the eco of MBL, because just taking direct engagement like this might not be satisfactory. That being said, MBL is still using Castage units against Imp units, and you see the result. The Podins are still melting those guys, and now Podins are coming into the right side as well. Lix needs to start rebooming and slinging his teammate, but it's going to be awfully hard. He needs to stop making any archers though. Just full sling Yo into Podin. That's their only hope. But I would say that the win chances for China here are probably around 15-ish%. That being said, if Viper loses that many villagers, this could still be pretty ugly for Norway. And those Podins can still smash everything that Norway has. But Yo needs to be proactive now. Do some insane raids on the opponent's economy. Pretty much have to kill Viper just as much as Lix is dead. Lix is at 38 villagers, and he's gonna go down by 7, probably around 14 villagers here as well. And MBL is going into Imperial here. Time is up for China. This is a game for Norway, and they're going to win it with the Malay Elephants. Something I didn't think that's gonna happen, and honestly, it wasn't necessarily about the Malay Elephants winning it. It was actually satisfactory as a cavalry play, but I feel like Yo played very, very greedy with the Paladin play. I don't think that you can afford to wait until Paladin here. Because, I mean, he still doesn't have the numbers. He's got 21 Paladin on the field. He could have like 40 Cavalier, and the 40 Cavalier would be satisfactory to raid the eco. And that's exactly what you needed. You needed mobility compared to sheer power. And mobility is something that they have, but they don't no longer have the capacity to raid the eco because they are the one that they are defending. Still, I mean, Lix is dead. Lix isn't a factor, even though if he can just run around and be annoying a tiny bit, he could actually get some damage done on Viper. And, well, there are some elephants here from MBL doing some damage. MBL up to Imperial. Is he gonna go Halberdier? He might go Hub in here, and Yo is stacking into Pikeman himself. The problem is that Viper isn't dead. Lix is dead. If it's Pikeman versus Pikeman fight, it's not gonna happen. It's going to be MBL and Viper slowly grinding down Yo, and like Lix isn't even close to becoming a factor in this game. This is just like the Nomad game, just the other way around. In the Nomad game, MBL was hurt so much that he wasn't a factor for so long. In this one, Lix is so hurt that he isn't gonna be a factor anytime soon. So, like, he's trying to reboom with 1 TC, come on. Corvinian army for Yo. So he wants to go Magyar Hussar in here as well, but they need to really use their mobility. Just use the Paladin for raid after raid after raid. They have to raid their way back into the game. That's the only hope for China. But as I said, I feel like their win rate or win chance here is like 10%. That's actually a nice find for Lix. He has to kill the villagers here from Viper. Use the heal bonus as well. Just try to damage Viper as much as Lix was damaged, and honestly, Viper is also taking quite significant punishment. It might actually come down to kind of a 1v1 between MBL and Yo. Magyar Hussar here will be an excellent raiding unit. I would love to see standard Hussars mixed in as well from Yo. Because Yo, in fact, why is Yo not making Paladins? He's got the resources for it. He should be getting Paladins or Light Cav out. Merry Christmas, by the way, Vividly Playing. Thank you for redeeming that. And it appears we're gonna have coinage from Yo. I guess he's just gonna send some resources for Lix, so Lix can reboom a little bit easier. They wanna make sure that they see if Norway tries to trade, but that's an awful lot of Paladins thrown away to Halberdiers, and I don't see the potential for Yo to stop the Halberdiers. If you look at the ecos, it's still way better for Norway, and that blob of units will once again finish off Lix. Elite Magyar Hussar for Yo. Elite Magyar Hussar. It could do some damage, but I don't think it's a substitute to just being behind by a massive margin. And look at that. MB is gonna steamroll everything with what is gonna be like Trebs and Hobbs or Rams and Hobbs. This game is over. I don't think that China can win this. And not gonna lie, I feel like the Paladin play was greedy. Way too greedy. What this should have been was numbers. Because you have to raid MBL and Viper to death here at this position when you are behind like by that much. You are not gonna get anything from Paladin here. You might be able to engage directly, but you have to wait a lot to get the Paladin upgrade in. And you also have to, like, there's gonna be hubs as well for Yo, but it's gonna take some time until he gets hub. And fletching on the way. Could be Cav Archer, could be Skirm, but it doesn't change the fact that Viper isn't dead. Yo is. And that's a huge difference. China taps out. The somewhat weird build order of Norway pays off here, but once again, I feel like this was a good build from Norway, but very dangerous. And I feel like China just didn't play the way they were supposed to. They had the ultimate mobility advantage. They had slow-moving army from Viper, slow-moving army from MBL. This should have been constant raids by Knights from Yo. Full raid. This is why I didn't like the Paladin upgrade. I feel like getting 40 Cavalier on the field and then just raiding MBL's eco to death would have been much better than taking Paladin and then taking a direct engagement. I mean, it's hard to say because Licks died so badly. And you can now see why Saracens are banned so frequently, because they can do just as much as Mayans do with the Obsidian arrows. But really, I just feel like Yo and Licks didn't use the mobility advantage that they have, and once again, Norway is going to strike back, and that's actually super important because it was a match point. They are not gonna go down 4-1 here. It is 3-2 in the advantage of China. I actually set 4-2 for Norway when I made my predictions. So far, I am not so right. MBL with the even KD, despite the fact that he was actually going for the elephants, is just crazy. It's actually very, very good. Oh, it's, yeah. It's not the third place match, but I mean, you know what's up. I don't think I even need to tell you that this is the grand finals, right? Because I've mentioned this so many times while I was casting. But true, I actually forgot that. Whoops. We're gonna fix it. No worries. Okay, it's fixed now. It's grand finals. So, MBL, Crazy Boom, and really just this. You are not gonna win a game like that if you are Licks and Yo. And this leaves us with 2 more games potentially remaining. Both of them are on the home maps of China. We have Chaos Pit and Team Islands remaining. And not gonna lie, Chaos Pit is like a coin flip. Isn't it bad as an Elephant player to have even KD? It's not really, because the Malay Elephants are cheaper. And if you account for the fact that you always have archers running away from you and picking off your elephants, an even KD is actually fairly satisfactory for MBL, I would say. Because you can't really take direct engagements with elephants. Opponents will just run away from you and kill your elephants from a distance with archers. So, it's going to be interesting, because Chaos Pit and Team Islands remain, and Chaos Pit, as I said, is like a coin flip. It could go either way. And how fitting it would be to have 2v2 World Cup decided by Chaos Pit. I feel like if you are China, oh, it's so hard. If you go Team Islands here, and then lose it, then the decider game is gonna be Chaos Pit. But if you go Chaos Pit here, you risk Norway winning it, because as I said, Chaos Pit kind of feels like a coin flip to me. Depends on depends heavily on individual micro, taking one good fight over the other, one hole over not a hole. Chaos Pit is very aggressive, very, very feudal based, and because of that, it is something that really goes like a coin flip type of a thing. So it is debatable which China should take, and I have no idea what they're going for, to be honest. Anyways, Saracens are gone, Malay are gone, Spanish are gone, and the Malians are gone. Other side, Lithuanians, Magyars, Koreans, and Tatars are gone. We are left with 5 civs for each team. 4 of them will be used up. We have Vietnamese, Incas, Slavs, Japanese, and Bulgarians remaining for China. Vietnamese could be a reasonable save for Team Islands for landing, to see where the opponent's TC is at. Japanese is probably going to be one of the water civs. Like Japanese Bulgarians could be a reasonable landing combination. Incas, I think, goes for Chaos Pit. So Inca Slavs for Chaos Pit. And the combination of Japanese, Vietnamese, Bulgarians, two of those will go to Chaos Pit. Or the Team Islands. Other side, Teutons probably goes for Chaos Pit alongside Byzantines. And you go Portuguese Vikings. Oh boy, China is in trouble here. I'm just noticing what they have left in there, and this is going to raise a massive question of the Chinese here. The Chinese snipe from the Chinese team. They have left Mayans in, they have left Saracens in, and they have left Vikings in. They lost the Saracens now. I think they did not lose to the Mayans in the Arabia game, but they could have lost there. But really, allowing Norway to have Portuguese and Vikings on islands would actually be a dream for Norway. So maybe China's gonna pick Chaos Pit and try to avoid playing Team Islands. Because let's be honest, Vikings, Portuguese, it cannot get any better than that on Team Islands. And I feel like this Chinese snipe is something I don't understand. Chinese is a great civ, but not necessarily something that you want to frequently snipe. In fact, throughout the tournament, Chinese were only sniped 6 times, and there is a reason to it. And you can see that Mayans 17 times, Saracens frequently banned as well. So there are civilizations that are much more viable for sniping rather than Chinese. Chinese is a good all-around civ, but it's not like something that is going to decide a game on its own. Whereas Saracens with the Arblasts can actually do that, whereas Mayans with Obsidian Arrow Arbs can do that. Vikings can do that on water with longboats, especially if you don't have Portuguese to counter that, and that's not something that China has. So because of this, I feel like the leftover civs are much better for Norway. And indeed, China decides that they don't want Team Islands. They want to finish the tournament off on Chaos Pit. But it's going to be tricky. Both of these maps are the home maps of China. And as much as we have seen how they have some strategies prepared on Scandi, I feel like they are going to have something prepared here as well. So we're going to jump into game number 7, actually 6 over here. 2v2 World Cup Grand Finals. So far this is a worthy Grand Final. Luckily it's not a stomp, which is super important nowadays. Many tournament finals end up being absolute destructions. And by the way, just want to point this one out, something that I also said throughout the tournament, that I feel like Lix has been exceeding all expectations with his performance in the tournament. He has been playing very, very consistently and very steadily. Then Hera just tweeted that one as well, that I think that, or Hera thinks that Lix is also the MVP of the tournament. I think I agree. If you are looking for the MVP of the tournament, so the most valuable player, it's either MBL for Norway or Lix for China. These two players were the players that contributed the most to their team and exceeded the expectations the most, I believe. MBL has had some outstanding games, amazing performances throughout the tournament, and Lix has also been extremely outstanding in this one. So, with that, we are gonna jump into the next game over here, going to Chaos Pit in game number 6 of 2v2 World Cup. Let's go. So, we are gonna have Norway on the right side of the map. China doesn't have a restart anymore, but Norway does, if I recall correctly. We're gonna have Viper as Teutons in blue and MBL as Aztecs in green. We are gonna have yellow, Slavs for Mr. Yo, and Incas for Lix in red. One thing that you could get from Aztecs here is the extra 50 gold, but that's still not enough to get free men-at-arms out, if I'm not mistaken. You're just missing 10 gold to do that. But I might be wrong with the math, so Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Anyways, we are gonna have a forward scout coming in here from Mr. Yo. He's playing Slavs, by the way. Slavs and Incas, both of these have been pretty decent in the tournament so far, but you also have to acknowledge that Incas have a 30% win rate, 3 out of 10 games on Chaos Pit, because usually what happens is that the Inca player is going to commit too much to a tower rush, and at the end of the day, they're just not going to be able to get up to cast stage and become a factor in later stage of the game. As expected now on Chaos Pit, we are going to have a laming attempt here by Lix. He's probably going to wall in the stones, he's going to wall in the berries. That's just the standard way that Lix wants to play this, and I believe that we're going to have Yo doing the exact same thing as well. Yo is going out without loom, so it was a little bit ambitious, to be honest, from him trying to lame that, and he's doing so. That's like way too ambitious. Why is Viper not trying to kill that? I'm not so sure. Viper going in with the mill over there, trying to grab something out of those huntables, and the scout fight will be in favor of Viper. I don't think that Yo can lame this one as well as he wanted to. Meanwhile, villager fight over here as well. The eagle of MBL is low HP, so is the one from Lix, but the MBL can heal it up in the town center, so this is not a big deal for MBL. And once again, I feel like the Inca Wheel Rush is just so predictable, and it's relatively easy to defend against, to be honest, especially if you're Teutons. You're just going to be able to make your own defensive towers. The Aztecs play is going to be interesting here for MBL. He could actually go for 5 militias to the rush, which is always nice to have. And in the meanwhile, actually you can squeeze in 3 men-at-arms, right? You should be able to. So maybe MBL is going to go men-at-arms. We'll see. But anyways, the condition for men-at-arms is that you have to really be able to play aggressive with them and find something to kill. And the lack of mobility actually hurts them quite badly. Now it is Lix just pushing in the air towards his town center. So I don't think that Lix achieved as much as he wanted to with the laming. He sees the stone, but he kinda ignores it, interestingly. He could just try to lame that one. Okay, he's coming back. So he's gonna do that. If you are trying for a Will Rush strategy and a towering strategy, then you probably want to have your opponents, like the other players, stones walled in as well. Because the thing is that if MBL loses access to his stones, what's going to happen is that he's going to go to Viper's base and mine this stone. It turns out that we have an early villager here from MBL. I think MBL Polycide scouted this. There is no way that MBL walks out to mine stone at this stage of the game. MBL had to Polycide scan it to make sure that, like, sees if it's getting lamed, and he is going to see it getting lamed, and because of that he can pull the eagle and he can pull the villager. Nice quick walls from Lix over there for the time being. But MBL isn't going to lose that stone mine no matter what. MBL now trying to wall that villager in. That eagle is still lurking around. Lix not really giving anything about that. Lix once again just running for his life, and I think Lix is gonna lose that will. Unless he makes some godlike quick walls here. Tries to poke down the eagle, and that's gonna be a dead villager from Lix. I'm not a fan of this play, to be honest, from him. Predictable, and it's not really gonna work out either. Very, very predictable and didn't work out. Inca's very overrated on this map, I believe. The Will Rush is just not the way to go, to be honest. I just don't believe in it. Anyways, Yo is gonna have a nice little feudal age over here of 20 pop. Same thing for Viper, but he's behind in feudal age timing. And that is because he probably had some idle time. Both players do have loom, so the only reason why Viper would be behind in... Actually, no, he went 21 pop. Okay, fine. I'm also getting tired, so that's my excuse on missing that. So 21 pop from Viper, 20 pop from Mr. Yo. And, well, Yo is gonna have a head start going into scouts here, which is something I really like. Teutons will have cheaper farms, Slavs will have better working farmers, but I personally prefer the Teutons in this fight, to be honest. We'll see how that shapes out. MBL is gonna drop a barracks, and that is gonna be a feudal age click up indeed. And let's see what he's up to. That early barracks with Aztecs, and since he has no gold access, it's very likely that we're going to see men-at-arms from him. In this one, Lix has the same HP as MBL has on that eagle, so anyone could win that eagle fight. in this one. And that's gonna be a coin flip. And MBL wins. Alright, so indeed here come the militias, and those men-at-arms could actually pack quite a significant punch. And the men-at-arms play is actually a reasonable one to defend against the Inca Wheel Rush, because men-at-arms actually pack quite a lot of firepower. And it appears that Viper will be the one getting doubled. Viper already did these woes in the games that they have played before, and it appears they're gonna do some team woes. Viper and MBL will go for some team woes. This is gonna be... I thought it's gonna be voted off here, but it turns out that... yeah, this is just gonna be a vote here as well. And what they want to accomplish is just having full team woes up. I think there was a team that tried this through the qualifiers, but they went for overly greedy team woes. Here, this could work for Viper and MBL, but it's tricky because you already have the villagers in here. Lick's dropping the blacksmith just now, and he's gonna get scale mail, and that's a super aggressive tower. Yeah, that was a little bit too close, I'm not gonna lie. This might be the weakest of Lix's games. Remember that Lix isn't one of the players that is extremely adept at playing very long series. He doesn't have to play long series in the majority of the cases, so he might be getting tired by the end of this one. And not gonna lie, he is performing worse and worse in these games. This game so far was a huge disappointment from him, and when the men-at-arms arrive, I feel like that tower is gonna be doomed to fall. It's going up, but it's gonna go down immediately, and this might be a fast game here. We might be going into a game 7, because... what is Lix gonna do here exactly? The men-at-arms will camp the bottom of the tower. This tower is going to prevent the villagers from killing them, and this tower is gone. Indeed, nice reaction from MBL already sending in the men-at-arms to clean this one up. And already a lot of those villagers are fairly low HP. Viper is getting the scouts out on the field, and this is the problem with the Wheel Rush. You have like no eco behind this one, and MBL is just much better off using men-at-arms against villagers, because he has a good eco working for him. In fact, MBL can add spears. That's completely just meat shield right now. Units that can kill villagers, anything that has damage output with Aztecs here and doesn't cost gold. And you see that this game might be over already. Looks at 22 villagers. And you see that it seems easy that the recipe for Chaos Pit is just, okay, pick Incas and go Wheel Rush, but so far the tournament has shown that this is not the way to go. 30% win rate so far for Incas on Chaos Pit. That's gonna drop even further because this isn't looking good for Lix. Or is it? He's killing quite a lot of wheels here from Viper, and now those villagers have the extra armor. Viper is down to 24 wheels as well, so maybe I have spoken too soon. A lot of those villagers are very low HP, so Viper could easily kill these villagers if those actually are in a mispositioned place. Viper has a 12 on food, 17 already for Yo, but we shouldn't actually sleep on MBL. And when MBL gets out here and he's very close to getting to the outside, he's gonna get gold. And when MBL gets gold, he can make eagles, he can make archers, and things will just go much, much better for Norway if MBL gets gold. So Viper just needs to be the meat shield, and once again we are seeing this lineup. Viper being the meat shield, the punching bag, and MBL is already dropping an archer range. I'm fairly certain that is because he already chopped to the outside. So here come the archers. And honestly, when archers come in, like Lix and Yo will be defenseless against that. Scouts will not be able to clean it up if the archers are accompanied by 1 or 2 spearmen. And once again, I feel like Viper is just doing the perfect job of being the punching bag, slowly going down and trading relatively even against Lix. But in the meanwhile, MBL is gonna have a very, very easy time getting into archers, and MBL is gonna have a completely untouched play here. So it's tricky. Yo is gonna have to get to Castle Age fast, because the other option that MBL could go for is Knights or Eagles. What am I talking about? MBL could go for Eagles, but if Yo goes for Knights, Yo can actually snowball that one. So if Yo can get a comparable Castle Age time to MBL, I think Yo is going to be able to have the advantage with Knights. We're going to have +1 attack coming in here for Yo. He's not on gold yet. He's actually chosen a pretty bad spot to chop through, but he's almost out. So he's going to be able to find the gold very, very soon. And that's a lot of scouts. Only 2 spearmen. You might actually just jump that spearman, because you have enough meat here to take that fight. And indeed now, you just bring in the scouts over here, and it's not like there is a lot of places to run to, Viper. it's not like there's a lot of places to run to. There is going to be some house walls coming up. Viper should be able to house wall this one out as well. So does he. Is there an opening here? Yes, there is, but Viper is gonna plug it in. And now, I guess Lix is gonna try and drop a tower here or something like that. MBL is on the outside though, and remember, MBL's got a completely untouched play here. Like, fully untouched. And that is going to materialize very, very soon. Yo, however, on the way to Castle Age. Are we gonna see another beastly game from Mr. Yo? We could see one. And if Yo gets to night numbers, MBL is gonna pretty much die here. Like, MBL could go Pikeman, but I'm still not a big fan of that. The other thing that I would love to see from Yo is sending the scouts to the outside and loop all the way around, try to hit the villagers on the outside. MBL, to prevent that, he's gonna start dropping some stone walls, so will Viper. Worth pointing out that Lix isn't even close to chopping to the outside. So this is gonna be a little bit harder for him to get there. Another tower comes in on MBL's eco, and MBL is not up to Castle Age yet. And if Yo is the first one to castle, he's gonna get knights out on the field, he could get siege workshop on the field. And, well, MBL is gonna lose some of his farming eco over here. Meanwhile, Viper, still far away from Castle Age. Honestly, Yo's eco was completely untouched, and that's going to show. Here come the scouts to the outside, something that you often do, and I'm not sure if MBL is going to be able to finish the walls by the time those scouts arrive. Other side, Viper isn't walling himself off just yet. Same thing here. I feel like this villager isn't going to be done with all the walls before the scouts arrive, and that would be an awful scenario for Viper to be in. Meanwhile, another tower comes in here for Lix. He's just trying to be annoying here, and it might be enough. Not gonna lie, this is not the best game from Lix. He has had some pretty bad fights with the villagers, but I mean, his villager count is still 33, and that's comparable to Viper's eco, which actually is alright for many, many reasons then. Because you just wanna kinda keep pace with Viper if you are Lix here, in terms of economy. Because it is going to be Yo's responsibility to kill MBL, and here come the knights, and even light cav upgrade is coming in. Viper's gold mine here could be dangerously exposed. This is match point, and we are very close to China gaining a decisive advantage, if you ask me. Because another tower is coming in here, and MBL could be cut off from his path to the outside. MBL not up to Castle Age just yet. And these villagers here could actually be cornered. Another tower comes in here, and now that knights are here, they will just run past the TC and they will take this fight no matter what. Villagers are gonna get slaughtered from Viper. These scouts have +1/+1 and bloodlines. Viper trying to wall his villagers in, but we could be close to the end of 2v2 World Cup over here because Viper and MBL are now in a bad spot. Yo with the score lead alongside Lix, and for MBL it's never great when you have to bring in your villagers to a villager fight against the Inca villas that are also having their upgrades, and now there are knights on the field as well. Another tower comes in. This would cripple MBL's footing. I mean, remember that as long as MBL doesn't have Castle Age, he cannot make thesis on the outside unless he deletes this one. So his villager production facility is over here, and he cannot get to the outside. Never underestimate the Inca Veil Rush. Honestly, I don't think it was the Inca Veil Rush winning it. It was the combination of the Inca Veil Rush and Yo playing very, very well here to get up to a fast Castle Age here. So the Inca Veil Rush alone wouldn't have done enough. Lix had a 19-9 KD, which is pretty admirable. It started out way worse. And I'm not a big fan of Lix's game plan here, not gonna lie. Despite the fact that it worked, this is one of those games where it worked, but this is not the way that it should have gone. It doesn't matter for Yo and Lix. Norway taps out after this play over here. Beautiful move from Yo. And Yo and Lix winning 2v2 World Cup. I think the biggest achievement that they had as a team. I actually traced back in the beginning of game number 5. I traced back their history of tournaments, and I haven't really seen any even finals performances from Yo and Lix as a team. And I feel like what required or what made this happen was Lix playing extremely well. The final 2 games were a little bit disappointing from Lix, but throughout the entire tournament, Lix has been playing outstanding, and he was just as good as Yo was. He has had some very, very clutch moves, being able to be disruptive against 2 players at the same time, allowing Yo to do what he does best and play late game. And that was the story of this one, the Scandi game as well. And throughout the tournament, Lix and his ability to disrupt the opponents and allow Yo to just finish the game worked out to perfection. Yo and Lix, I think, at the top of competitive Age of Empires, and potentially now we're really getting to a position where we have to say that it is very, very fun to be an Age of Empires fan right now, because when I got into competitive Age of Empires casting, it was Viper winning the majority of the tournaments, and now we can safely say that it's no longer the case. There is a huge variety. Players like Hera and Leary dominating on 1v1 events. Teams like Yo and Lix being able to beat a team of Viper and MBL, both of them being top 5 players. There are so many interesting things to come with Age of Empires here, and I think the first sign of this one was this. The fact that Yo and Lix were able to beat Viper and MBL here. So we have seen that in 1v1 tournaments, we see some new faces arriving to the semifinals, the grand finals. Now, I think that in the team game events as well, we are seeing some new teams up. And what is scary about this Yo and Lix team is that this team has been playing together for long. So it's not like they just teamed up for this event and you are no longer going to see them anymore. These guys are playing together all the time. The next 2v2 event, whatever it may be, it is gonna be Yo and Lix signing up as well. They are on the top of 2v2 Age of Empires, and as I said, there were quite a lot of 2v2 tournaments in the last 1.5 years, let's say. In fact, I am actually a big fan of the 2v2 format myself. And I know that Yo and Lix haven't been performing the best in those tournaments. They were always around the quarterfinals, maybe semifinals, but in this tournament they were very dominant. It's not just this series, but if you remember that they stomped Brazil 4-1 and 4-2 here against Norway with some quite decisive victories as well. China had absolutely well deserved this one, and Norway is going to take the second spot. Nothing to be ashamed of for them either, because they have been extremely dominant throughout the tournament, and the two best teams got into the finals, and I think the one with the slightly more chemistry actually won. China A wins 2v2 World Cup in here, and fun fact, December 20th, the 2v2 World Cup ends, China winning it, is the same day when the Clan Masters Invitational was won by Tyrant in 2015. The Tyrant team that had Viper in it, that had Doubt in it, Bhakti, Ryut, and Slam. Not something that's very, very interesting, but I just want to bring a comparison here. 2015, Clan Masters Invitational, a prize pool of $5,000. Tyrant team, Viper, Ryut, Slam, Bhakti, and Doubt winning it over the Old Boys team that actually featured Mr. Yo, Lix, Love Chang, Joffrey, and Shaoxing. Mr. Yo and Lix, 5 years ago, wasn't a team that actually lost in the Clan Masters Invitationals. Now, 5 years later, they are the ones on top of a tournament. And of course, just to mention that one, MBL in that tournament, the Clan Masters Invitational, he was in the third place team in the Nadia's Boys team. Anyways, I think that's enough of talking from me. Congratulations to China for winning this one. Norway has played outstanding as well throughout the entire tournament, but China has proven to be better in this one. And at the end of the day, they are the ones that are bringing the trophy back at home. Congratulations to China for that. I think I am going to sign off now. So goodbye YouTube, and thanks for watching.